So, welcome to the Marine Advisory Board meeting for Thursday, September 4th. We are going to refer to this as the back to school edition because we have our Chief Education Officer, Susan Leon, over there. We'll get to that in a moment. We haven't seen you all since July. We're going to try to move quickly for no other reason other than we have a lot of ground to cover and we'd like to get through it. So, very respectfully, let's keep our questions on task, etc. And again, let's see if we can move forward. I'll explain those handouts in a minute. Let's start real quickly at the roll call, please.
Mr. Whitten?
Here.
Mr. Washington?
Here.
Mr. Baycott?
Here.
Mr. Brunel?
Here.
Mr. Colburn?
Rest.
Mr. Dunbar?
Here.
Mr. Flanagan?
Here.
Mr. Frank?
Here.
Mr. Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Robotsky?
Present.
Mr. Swindle? Swindell?
Present.
Mrs. Ware?
Here.
Mr. Morley?
Here.
And Mr. Mitchell?
Here.
And this, a quorum has been established.
So, before we start,
I'm sorry, can we get a motion to, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
What-
Go ahead. Approval
you
for that.
tell me what I need to do. I didn't get to yet.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta follow the boss. So thank you for doing that. I usually forget that. So real quickly, everybody read the minutes? If anybody had an issue, let us know. Brett Robotsky had picked up the typo. It's not going to be meaningful. If anybody else has anything, please let us know. Otherwise, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as
So
it's
moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. So, now I will try. Thank you, and please do that again. So, this is kind of sad, and I mean this great. So I would like a moment of silence, please, for Rachel Nizanoff. Rachel Nizanoff is the young lady who lost her life on the jet ski. When that occurred, it's a situation we can all relate to. We're going to dig into a little bit more, but when it occurred and Travis was there, he was the guy who declared the girl dead. He was the guy who looked at her face and realized the damage. So if I'm sounding morbid, I'm doing that intentionally. So this is a situation, as I say, we can relate to. And I said that night when I talked to Ben Swartz and other people, we're not going to let this happen again. So we're going to brief you on what's going on, but I do want to be respectful. I also want to acknowledge Travis, his team, fire and rescue, etc. These guys live a life that none of us could possibly imagine. So thank you for that as well. So we can have a moment of silence for Rachel Nizanoff, please. Thank you all. So on a positive note, we have two new board members. Well, one kind of new and one completely new. We have Sam Mitchell. Where's Sam Mitchell?
Right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So, Sam, take a second to introduce yourself, please. Just tell us who you are and what your background is.
Wow. Okay. You guys ready for this?
10 seconds. You got 10 seconds.
I've been around the water for quite some time. I've swum from elementary school right on through college with a championship with the SIAC at Albany State College in Albany, Georgia. I've been a city official and served on boards for this city since 1991 with Bob Dunkel. Where's Bob? Hey, Bob Dunkel. We served on the Board of Adjustment together. I served on code enforcement as the chair for code enforcement my last 2 years there. Of course, on the Board of Adjustment, unusual, but we didn't have term limits then. I had 7.5 years on the Board of Adjustment. I had community services and the Education Advisory Board.
Well, thank you very much. You're welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mr. Morley, so Ted Morley, for those of you, and there's a lot of new faces for Ted here. Ted was previously chairman of the board. He timed out, and it's really fascinating that 2 years went by in a heartbeat. So, hey, Courtney. So he's back, and we're delighted to have him. And for those that don't know Ted, sure, guys, we'll go back.
Good evening, room. Chair Whitten, pleasure to be back. Thank you very much. As Chair said, I was the immediate path forward. chair here. I did time out about 2.5 years ago. Thank you to Mayor Dean Trentalis and Commissioner Ben Thornton for their support over the years of that. And I'm back here tonight. Those of you I know, looking forward to work with you guys again. Those of you that are new to the room or new since I was here, be a pleasure to get to know you guys and work with you all. So that'll be great. Bob, good to see you. And Travis, you guys, Chad, Steve, Chief, it's hats off to you guys, what you guys do every day in service to our community. It means a lot to everybody. But Chair, I'm happy to be back. Anything I can do to help, let me know.
So welcome aboard. You get the official hat.
Oh, we didn't have hats. Come on, you give me a look back.
You get a different budget.
You got a budget this year.
No, Bob,
never got a hat.
it comes out of Bob's pocket.
I never got a hat. There's M&M.
Well, you get a hat.
Or an Oreo. Gotta get Doc a hat.
So, moving forward. So I'm gonna take a second real quickly here before we go to waterway crime and safety. I did a thing we started, I think, a couple of months ago, and I'm gonna take a second. I call it good and welfare, kind of just updating you real quickly. It's been 2 months since we got together, and again, I'm gonna see if I can buzz through this quickly. First of all, I would like a standing ovation for Bob Dunkel and Marco Aguilera, because the amendment to 8145 was passed last night unanimously for the first reading. It goes back for a second reading, if I'm correct, but we have a groundswell of support. And I say a groundswell of support. We have neighbor support that's unlike anything I've seen. And it's all of our efforts, etc. They got it passed. To say that Bob burned the midnight oil and Marco Aguilera, if you have not seen the presentation, knocked it out of the park. So I'm sorry, I'm doing it. But these guys, thank you very much. As we did this, our previous interim city manager, Susan Grant, turned to me, gave me a big smile and said, you could check that off your list. So we're going to keep checking stuff off the list, guys. And thank you all. So back in July, we had a terrific Zoom meeting with Kate McConville, Harbor Master Block Island. We learned a lot and we've made a lot of progress. We're going to tell you what we've accomplished over the last couple of months. Bob then discussed amending 8145. Boy, we made progress in 2 months. Excuse me. We talked about where we came since January 1st and whiteboard items, etc. I'm going to bring that up real quickly with the mayor. We talked about what we accomplished, who joined the board, etc. And the board has now grown with the addition of these two gentlemen to what I think is the most outstanding board I've seen here. So great stuff. Let me go through a couple of quick things. Bring up 1A, please. So I had a meeting while Bob and Marco and everybody else was in conference yesterday. Travis and I met with FWC. Which was something I guess the chief put together or they put together. So it's tough to pick me out, guys, because I'm the big guy in the clown. I'm really not. But so this is FWC. That's Richard Walter, who's fine in front. The guy with the cowboy hat is Captain Jeff Hart. I'm sorry. He has offered to do, his message to me was, we will do 100% what you need to support you. So we have tremendous support. We've talked about regulating speed to make sure we save somebody's lives, etc. We've got it with them. We're probably going to have them come to a presentation with us in October. These guys are salt to the earth. A couple of the big guys came down from Tallahassee, but a number of the guy to the left of the guy in the cowboy hat is captain of he's with BSO. Again, we had them all there, and they basically pledged whatever we need. I'll also tell you some things that we never avail ourselves. I asked about throw rings. We went by Birch Park. There's one throw ring there. I said, hey, don't you require throw rings? One of the commanders, whoever was, said, back your Jeep up to my garage. You can have as many throw rings and life jackets you want. All you have to do is ask. So the fact is the resources are here, and we're going to avail ourselves of that. Additionally, number 3, if you would. I sent this around. This was a feature article. I'm still not sure what it was in. If you all haven't seen this,
Harbor Beach Community.
Harbor Beach. They stuck my phone number and email on there. I'm not real. But I had the amount of support I got over the last couple of days, emails, etc., is extraordinary. So it goes to show you what neighbors can accomplish. Read this if you can. It is so well done and is so incredibly supportive of what we have, and you have a copy there as well.
I would like to point out, excuse me, the author of that article is Tim Stockdale's nephew.
And Ari has been involved with this from the very beginning, and he's been a big champion of course. So I also passed around just and I don't need to do this, but the purpose and duties of the Marine Advisory Board. I'll probably do this every month just because, again, I want to make sure we understand that we're not doing anything that is not our charter. There's everything that is in this is what we are chartered to do, and that's exactly what we're doing. Life safety, basically anything on the water. So, and we have significant support from the commissioners. We talked about the update on whiteboard, etc. I'm proud to say that we are able to check one off, and I'll get to that. We talked about questions with the mayor. What happened was we got 6 pages of questions, and they are in the weeds. If I ask to put in the mayor one of those questions, he's politely going to say goodnight, guys, because you cannot box him into a corner. So instead, what I'm going to do is I have 5 or 6 of these items. I'm going to mention, obviously, failing infrastructure, various things we're talking about. I'm putting together a comprehensive list, and we're going to send it to every one of the commissioners. Things that we would like to address, etc. So we'll follow up with that, and we'll be dealing with this in a minute. Beyond that, we've talked also about, I kind of around, and the response has been wonderful. We're a little over our heads. Some of us are extremely busy with this, and our support again is terrific. But what we need to realize we need to do is divide and conquer. So I had reached out to you and said, we have a number of things we're working on now and in the future, and we can use support. The 3 things were the Voltaire electric boat, which is as real as it gets. They're in our backyard. Some of you may have heard me say it. They are the leader in electric boats. They have a boat in Canada right now that's being used as a patrol boat. They have offered, it's the craziest thing. They have a boat, I think it's in Seattle. They're going to bring it down. They're basically going to give it to Travis to use for the boat show. We're going to see if we can get it for longer. They'll outfit it with lights, anything he needs. So what I asked for is somebody to work with Travis and Marco in that area. Somebody to kind of keep track of what stuff, etc. Because these guys actually do something else other than that. John was the first one to volunteer on that. So John's going to be working with Travis and Marco on the electric boat. The other thing is we talked about working with Susan Leon and naming the pump out boat, which is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to use that in a lot of areas. That goes to LaRonda because she chipped in first, but LaRonda also said she'd like to ride on the electric boat, so she gets the first ride on the electric boat. The last one I have is something that I need help technically. I mean, somebody who's technically adept. One of the things I started working with Travis and the fire department, police department, etc., was putting together what I'll refer to as a staggered capital replacement program. Right now, they have engines with 5,000 to 6,000 hours on it. I mean, can you imagine having an engine like that? Now they maintain them, but what we'd like to do is see if we can have them roll every few years. So the same way the city does with cars, etc. It doesn't make a difference if that engine has 1,000 hours or 10,000 hours. In 2 years, we roll. And that way they hopefully retain intrinsic value and they can get new ones. So if we have a budget, we know what to anticipate versus on an emergency basis. So think about that. Somebody could reach out to Andrew, but we need somebody to work very closely who basically can do some spreadsheet stuff, etc. That's where we are with that. And I think we'll make great progress. Other than that, right. I also went, with jet skis, since after we've been doing some investigation, I talked about Bob Dunkel burning midnight oil. I went to Blue Moon Outdoor Adventures. They're over at, George Ingles Park, to one of, I think, our better operators. They rent the facility from us there. And, as it turns out, we're not going to bore you with it now. The typical operators of these jet skis have, some of them have extensive rap sheets. So Travis is working on that. But I met with this guy and I said, how do you educate them? What do they do before they take a jet ski? You have to have a boating license or you have to take a course. I'm pretty sure my 3.5-year-old can pass that course. I'm pretty sure my 3.5-year-old can pass the introduction they give you. This is the throttle, hang on. This is where you can go. That's pretty much it. And I mean that respectfully. And I said to the gentleman, so what could we possibly do? What would you recommend to maybe help people's lives, etc.? Because these people, it's the first time these people on a jet ski. Helmets. So I don't want a response. They're basically inexpensive kind of bikes, little helmets. But what we showed at FWC, where that young lady came up into the dock and hit her head, she'd be alive right now. So food for thought.
You know what else she'd be alive for? Is if we just banned them.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunately,
Wait a minute. Let's talk about that for just a second.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Florida statutes say you cannot discriminate against personal watercraft.
okay. So moving on, I'm not trying to be short.
That's fine.
But we've had,
That's good.
that's how it
There
started.
are ways to chip away at that, but we just can't ban it.
Can we restrict it?
That's what we're doing.
There are ways to chip away at it. It's gotta be done nibble by nibble.
And then when this first came down, that's what the commissioners were saying. We just shut them down. Obviously, the wiser attorney said,
You can't run an ATV on I-95. Why can you run a jet ski down the intercoastal waterway on a Sunday?
Maybe you need to talk to the boat US people that are such a powerful lobby.
so, moving on. Waterway crime and safety reports. We talked about it was a really tough couple of months, guys. So, Ed Eason, where is that? He always goes last. You got it again first. Ed Eason is code. Let us know what's going on.
Okay,
While he's getting that up, guys, the mayor, we asked him to come at 6. He's gonna walk in probably around 6:30. We'll just stop what we're doing and we'll convene.
Good evening. Our boat was down for a little while, so we were kind of limited to what we could do. But here's one on Cuesta Street where the rafting of a vessel kind of obstructed the waterway. We cited the property owner and then eventually got a hold of him and he removed the boat, clearing the obstruction in the waterway. That was off the Cuesta Street.
It's to tender to in order to raft off another boat?
Yes.
That's obviously not tender.
No, no,
Still can't go over the 30%.
but he removed it, no issues, didn't have to go to a hearing, so.
That's correct.
He complied. Next one, I believe may have been called in by Marco, at 408 Southwest Fourth Avenue. A very large vacant lot there. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but, we cited them in July for illegal land use. They were storing the boat behind the undeveloped vacant land. They have not complied yet. Actually went out there today. It's going through a hearing, September 9th on Tuesday. So the property owner does not agree. We disagree and we're going through a hearing.
What's the offense with that? Is it, it's
Illegal land use, it's undeveloped land. They can't store the boat behind the property.
Thank you.
Ownership of the land versus ownership of the vessel. Are they one and the same?
No, we cite only the property owner.
And as the property owners concerned, are they saying we got no control? We didn't give them permission? I mean, what's their attitude?
They're ready to get
I'm
out.
sure they gave
We're renting it out?
idea, they're
They-
renting.
They made arrangements with the marina.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Chad Robertson, Fire Rescue, same thing I said with that, couple of months, give us an update, please.
We didn't have a meeting last month, but from last month to this month, we're at 29 calls responding on the 2 fireboats. But we got a busy night, so I'll touch just on 3 of the calls. We're talking about jet skis. On July 21st. We had a jet ski accident, 1200 block of the ICW. One person had a head injury, was taken to the trauma center. On July 25th, at the 4300 block of the ICW, we had a vessel that lost control and overturned. 4 victims were in the water. I don't know if you were on that one. Fort Lauderdale PD nautical unit picked up 2, and bystander unit boats picked up 2 others. 4 patients were taken to the trauma center as well.
What size was the vessel?
I don't have the size of the vessel.
Grady White.
It's all over social media.
What time of day? It was evening, it was
Good
right before,
afternoon, yeah.
yeah, it was after sunset? No, it had, the sun wasn't down yet, it was late afternoon, 5 o'clock, somewhere.
And then August 12th is the one that we were speaking about earlier. The 2 girls that hit a seawall. One was a trauma code and her sister was a level 1 trauma, transported to Broward General. We had significant amount of other calls, but those were the 3 major ones. There's a lot of new faces here tonight, and on behalf of the fire department, I'll leave my cards at the table. If anybody would like to come by the fire station and get a tour, see our fire boots, or learn anything about what we do, we'd have.
So, that leaves us with, Sergeant O'Neill. Same thing. What's going on in your world, Sergeant?
Very good. So sure everybody wants to know about the accident, and I'll explain it as I know it. FWC investigates that kind of accident whenever it's break bodily injury or death. They always take over that investigation. So one of me and one of the officers were patrolling that day. We actually received a call in the Middle River that we were responding to. Saw these 2 young ladies on a jet ski, and they did super minor wake violation just south of Sunrise Boulevard. We stopped and talked to them, just trying to explain this run zones, and I asked them myself to please be careful. We went to the call, turned out the boat was gone. Then we received the call for the accident it was about 30 minutes after we had talked to them. Not knowing who they were, when the accident happened, we responded up there, and as soon as I got there, I knew exactly who they were. So as far as I know, there was a boat headed the opposite direction of the 2 young ladies. They hit their wake. After hitting the wake, and I don't think it was a damaging big wake. I think it was a normal boating wake, but they were just inexperienced. They didn't know how to handle it. They seemed to have gotten sideways. They possibly mistakenly accelerated towards the dock, hit the pylon with the front of the jet ski, and then we think either stayed on the throttle or re-engaged the throttle. And they ended up, the jet ski went up, the bow went up very high, and hit actually the underside of the dock and then crashed into the seawall. There were some people that were on another jet ski tour that were passing by. One of the ladies that was on that jet ski tour was a nurse. They got in the water, grabbed 2 girls. There were some guys doing yard work at that house. Those guys pulled them up out of the water, and then we got there probably less than a minute after that. Luckily, the fire department was there probably, 20 seconds after we got there. They transported both them, and the younger one, the older one, had some serious injuries, but looks like she's gonna fully recover. So if anybody has any questions about that, I'll answer whatever I can. I don't have any other update besides that, what I just said with FWC with that. They're still investigating it. Charges, I know they're talking to the attorney about charges for the jet ski owner, jet ski company owner. I would say since that accident, he's completely removed all of his equipment, all of his jet skis, all of his stuff from the city, and where he was storing it is completely gone now. So looks like he closed the shop. He had a warrant for his arrest. at the time of the accident. He's since turned himself in for that and received probation. Maybe any question about the was the fatality, the driver or the passenger? Further on passenger. The passenger, she was the one who passed was the passenger when we talked to them. So I imagine it was, and I haven't heard anything.
Where the jet ski was based on.
So the person who owned that jet ski company, very well known between us and at the no. And I'll say that when I did sort of research, he had 20 reports in just Fort Lauderdale system, not just jet ski based, but like him arguing with this person, his roommate. He had his dog taken from him, just bunch of nonsense stuff. But he's very well known to us in FWC. And he operates out of 301 Seabreeze. But what his normal operation is he will meet his customers supposed to be there. They get them on, they meet and they go on a pontoon boat. He takes them out to an area where he's keeping the jet skis, and the people get on the jet skis from there and they go out their day. He does guided tours, but you can elect to do a non-guided tour as well. That day was a guided tour. His guides don't usually last more than a week or two. And this guy was a pretty new guy that had his family out with them. So obviously tragic. I want to say this. That company is definitely not one that did it right. But when it comes to something like this, if you are a parent and you're taking your kids out, you got to recognize like your kid can handle this or not handle this kind of thing. So no, I don't want to put it incumbent on all the parents. The guy should have noticed that these girls weren't able to kind of operate correctly and shut it down. But the parents should have as well.
You need a Coast Guard license to run the tour or take them out on anything.
Yes, indeed.
He
Yeah,
did
he
did have a master license.
So that's the good news. That's why we're here, guys. You know, it's we're here with anchorage limitation, etc. But the idea that we could possibly save one person's life, it makes it all very worthwhile. Thank you all. Thank you very much. So next, kind of interesting thing. So Mark, will you come on up for a second? So we have FDEP. Go ahead, please. So we have FDEP that's joining us via Zoom, we believe. Are they on? And I'll tell you what this is all about. So, yes, okay. If you put that up, I appreciate it. So we've been, so Mark has been working with FDEP, which I assume you know what that means. So Mark has been working with Kenley on the pump out boat on a grant for, no, not 9, please. Unless I did that wrong. 9. Sorry. This one. So Mark has been working with Kenley at FDP, and we have funding for the pump out boat. Are we finalized yet?
October 7th, it goes to commission for authorization to get the agreement.
So we're hoping the commission approves it. We're being a little presumptuous, but that's just who we are. You know, we got to move forward. We got to get stuff done, etc. So we have. So I had gone back. Some of you know John Luscombe, who used to be involved with the city just a handful of months ago. He's enjoying his time sailing up in Jupiter. John is. There was nobody that wrote grants like John did, etc. He worked closely with FDEP, FIND, etc. over the years. And I asked John to go back in his files and look. And we've been working, so far as we know, at least since 1994. So well over 30 years with FDEP. A couple of the recent grants we got, again, we have 30 years of support. One of the ones we got, I think the last one we got was $1.1 million that funded rebuilding of Cooley's Landing. CBA that's been helpful with, etc. So we wanted to take a moment, not just say thank you and forget about it, but to acknowledge them for their efforts. So on behalf of Marco Aguilera, come on up. And I will tell you who we believe is on. On behalf of Marco, the board, and the city of Fort Lauderdale, we want to thank Octavia, Kenley, who has been directly involved with Marco, Victoria, Lisa, Cyrena, and Alexis. So guys, if you hear us, I don't think we're allowing you to talk, but we are very, I'm not in good speech. I'm not going to go there, but we are incredibly gracious for what you've done. We will overnight this to your office, and thank you all very much. And on behalf of
Yeah, so I've been working with Kenley Herbert on this. He's made the process extremely easy. He's answered 1,000,001 phone calls and emails from me. Yeah, I just want to really express my gratitude to him. You know, I explained to him it's my first time going through a grant application. So he really took the time to help me out through the process, and obviously now we're at the home stretch. So thank you to Kenley and all of DEP. So
thank you all. So moving on, Susan Leon. Susan, come up for 1 second, if you would. So Susan Leon is the Chief Educational Officer for the city of Fort Lauderdale. We had asked Susan, I actually reached out to our dear friend, Dr. Gassman, and said, who should we speak with? Because we'd like to celebrate the Pump Out Boat. We want to see it in the Winterfest parade all dressed up. We want it to go by and people go, hey, that's our Pump Out Boat. And we decided, or at least thought, about including school-age children. Because we realized if you go to a school-age child and you say, hey, what's a Pump Out Boat? They don't know what it is. And then one of our wise board members said, why don't we turn it into an educational thing and expose these young children who may not realize that there are opportunities, career opportunities on the water. I mean, Robert Washington, Bob Franks might have been him, and said, so let's show these kids, because we see the kids at Birch Park. I mean, whether they're underprivileged, whether whatever they may be. There's a lot of folks that don't live like many of us do. So the idea was to go into the schools, make this a contest, have them celebrate it, come on the boat, see it, come down when we launch it, etc. And this is the woman that could do it with us. I asked Susan to simply stop by, and we're going to meet her. LaRonda's going to work with her on this as well, and hopefully, again, we'll probably have sunshine laws, but we're going to have a blast with this. Be fun, the comments will be fun, etc. So hopefully we can kick this off next one. Okay.
Sure,
So it was an introduction to Susan. Thank you for joining us, and we're gonna hopefully have you back.
Looking forward to supporting that. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Thanks. That's going to be a terrific effort, guys. And I don't know who it was like me. Can you imagine when we see it, the little children are, you know, see it go by and say, hey, that's the Perdinator. The same. Okay. Let's see if we can move forward. We have the mayor hopefully is showing up, but let's see if we can get moving here. We have a presentation from Aquatic Control Group. Now, Aquatic Control, we had a request from one of our members to understand what Aquatic Control does, etc., when they do it, how they're keeping our waters clean, etc. Melissa Doyle was very gracious in joining us, and we've also talked about having some local efforts, basically with residents, etc. We're talking about a number of things. So if you introduce us, we'd love to know what you guys are about here.
Thank you. Chair Whitten, thank you. And thank you to the Marine Advisory Board for the invitation. We tried to squeeze this in July and we weren't able to make the agenda. So thank you for making room for us. With me today is Robert Moritis, and Robert is one of the chief operating partners of Aquatics. And Aquatics is our vendor that was just recently re-awarded a contract that was expanded to be able to provide waterway and canal cleaning here within the city of Fort Lauderdale. So Andres, if you could pull up that presentation. We did put something together very quickly just so that there was something for us to discuss. I know time is very short and Mr. Whitten has made that very clear. I'm gonna leave my business card at the front as well. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, I can either get you in contact with Robert, or I'll be glad to answer those if I can. As well, you can always go through Marco. We're working really hard to give Marco the support and resources he needs to be successful. So.
Thank you for the opportunity. They made a presentation for you guys to see, basically what we do in the city. We've been doing this for over 5 years already. On the new contract, they added a second boat for designated areas that accumulate the most amount of garbage. So we have one boat designated to, running through the 14 locations that we have identified on the map, which is on the presentation, and then one boat doing hotspots daily, Monday through Friday. And we collect, each boat does about 50 bags. We pull up every day about 50 bags each boat, garbage out of the water. Or the week. So we take
Vegetation or plastic?
We pick up vegetation, plastic, docks, ponds, litter from residents that just drop everything in the water.
One of the things we try to be really mindful of, because often we know that, you know, the presence isn't necessarily always felt, or there's a concern that we aren't as active as we could be. And we do a lot when we're on the waterways. So we're constantly in contact with both FLPD, with Marine Patrol, with Travis. There's a floating dock, exactly. Travis and I are buds. Filings, exactly. So what you'll see as we go through the presentation, again, trying to be efficient and respectful of everybody's time, is we tried to pick photographs that are absolutely out of Fort Lauderdale, but that sort of depict some of the challenges that we see when we're out there. In full disclosure, Marco got to spend a whole day out on the water with these guys, and 2 days, even better. So he got a bird's eye view of what the work was that was going on.
How far did you go down? Did you go down the North Fork River?
We go all the way up to Commercial Boulevard. That's in the zone 1 and shoots across.
So you don't do the North Fork River at all? You don't go down like Broward Boulevard, nowhere doing that area?
North Fork,
We do.
there's a zone map on there.
Yeah,
on the-
you'll
on
see
the
it, you'll see it
presentation.
come up.
But it's 165 miles, basically. We do it once a month. And then there's 2 locations that we tow a boat to on a third boat, and we collect also inside in Lake Melba and off of Sunrise and off of 95 and Bar Boulevard.
Contacted by residents if there's something they notice, so that they have to go through the city to get to you.
We've been contacted through residents, and I give them the number, the 828-9000 number for them to call and report it. Right.
You
But
guys
there's several residents that still call me, I need you to come by, I need you to come by. And I relay the message to them.
the canal.
Yeah, in the canals.
Or you guys.
It just depends on the tide, the wind, it just accumulates in certain canals.
15th Street, yeah. You guys have the ability to deal with chemicals in any way?
Yes.
You guys can boom that stuff, or you call people?
Like, what do you mean by chemical?
Diesel. Yeah, fuel.
No, we don't do any of that.
We have other supporting contracts that again fall underneath the Public Works purview. We provide that support to Marco at this point for anything like a diesel spill or something like that that requires a hazmat response that can't be supported either through PD or fire. But we do have booms
We have
and
booms
other
also.
equipment. They were active, for instance, after we had the 2019-2020 sludge and sewer breaks. And they were out in the George English area. They also were out in the Rio Vista area. We had booms areas, et cetera. So it's a fairly robust contract.
Mayor, please come in.
Take to a seat right up here.
So no pressure. No pressure. Okay, guys, jump on. Oh, okay. So we were always told you have to be respectful. Please come in. So this is aquatic control talking about how they keep our water. Please go ahead, guys. Mayor, are you okay if we let them finish for like a couple minutes?
The night is yours.
So we have several contracts. And we have over 14 years experience that we've been providing waterway cleaning, debris cleanup, emergency debris cleanup. Yeah, we do a lot. Some of the stuff you can see as we do the canal cleaning for here, that's the picture of one of the boats. Has a piling on it, loaded up with garbage bags, cans, aerators. You can see some of our the compressors that we use, the floating booms that we set up in Georgia News Park. We also spray herbicides in the water, which are eco-friendly. We do any type of hydrilla, algae, and cattails. We also take care of cattails. And some of the stuff that we do have aquatic harvesters, we got two. We have floating amphibious excavator. We have other excavators, grapple trucks, cranes, tractor trailers to be able to move all the equipment around.
Whatever, like here, or
No.
that's separate.
Yeah, we go from here, 66, 17th Street Causeway north
What about the river?
in the river.
How far up do you go?
Up to zone 1, which is a commercial boulevard that goes. We have to go into Pompano to come back.
As far west.
Yeah, I'm talking about the North River. You go up to where the North and South Forks split.
Yes.
You do.
Yes. So we go past under Broward Boulevard to the parks all the way at the end.
Got it. There's your grass.
That was right. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. So we go back in there. That there's a shallow little island in the middle and some tree trunks also.
Yeah, school.
In the school. There's a school back there.
You mentioned earlier that you come out once a month. What were you referring to?
Oh, so there's 2 locations that are dry. They don't have waterway access, and we tow our boats out there and we collect the litter in there. Coconut pump run, water bottle, water cap,
Otherwise, you're on the water all the time?
all the time, yes.
Sir, you flashed a screen up there with some costs and what the contract payout is either worth, the contract is worth, or what you've been paid already.
That's the total amount that we bid on, but that's not what's being used in the contract.
Well, that speaks to my point. I've read the contract, and there is nothing in the contract. There are no exhibits in the contract that displays anything about a maximum payable amount in the contract. There's nothing in there. The only language in the contract is a reference to a maximum payable amount, but there's no exhibits that specify what that amount is. So my question is, why? And I just think, just by looking at the contract,
So it's a twofold response, and we have the benefit of our procurement director here, Mr. Glenn Marcos. So as always, I defer to Glenn. But the way that the contract is constructed, it's an annual cost and it's an annual contract. So the expectation is that that is the amount that we would spend annually or have available to spend annually for the first contract term of 3 years, and then the additional.
why wouldn't it be in the contract as an exhibit?
That would be.
To me, that's just a big hole for impropriety.
So, I respectfully disagree. This is the equivalent of IDIQ, which is a indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. So everything is based on estimates. So when we bid this thing out, we put the estimates out, and then we allow for the bidder to bid on the estimate. So we can be under the quantities or over the quantities, but nonetheless, when performed, they have to end up charging up the unit price.
And why wouldn't even the estimates be in the contract?
They are.
The estimates are?
If you look at the rebate in front of you, right there in front of you. Don't take my word for it.
Is that,
You have quantities there.
that's not in the original contract though.
Not us.
That's the award.
I looked at the original contract. This is something that's been rebid. Is that it?
This was recently rebid and
Yeah.
reawarded last year. And what you see on the screen is the 3 responding bidders and the prices that were bid by line item.
Okay, I have quite a bit of experience in government, public-private partnerships of this type. And in any kind of contract with a municipality, whatever the amount is, whatever your billable amount is usually an exhibit in the contract. Is it in the rebid?
It is an exhibit under the contract, and I can take you into the agreement to show you that it is
Okay, so the version of the contract I got did not include that.
yeah, I'm not seeing, I don't know what you're seeing in front of you, but what I can do with Promptu, I can go into our website. I believe that the contract is transparent to anybody who wants to visit our website. I can take you into the contract and show you exactly what you're asking for.
And again, I'm happy to leave my business card. If you have any questions or concerns about the line items or suggestions, I'm certainly open to that. I'd love to hear the feedback.
So we will absolutely do that. Melissa's offered to, again, assist us in a number of areas when we're talking about, working with, kind of local residents. We've talked about, just what can an individual do? If you see a bottle floating by your dock, pick it up. We talked about, going to West Marine, having them donate 1,000 nets, and going to Home Depot and getting 1,000 buckets, handing them out to neighbors. You see a bottle going by, Bob Dunkel doesn't have a net by his dock, but it's there. You can scoop it out. Let's pick this shit up. So that's what we're going to start doing here. And so this is critical for us, and Melissa's going to help us with this as well. So she's going to come back with respect to contract, etc. I want to be sensitive to our board member. If we can, we'll follow up offline. We'll forward him copies of what's
Happy
there.
to do that. And I'll leave my card. You're welcome
Thank you
to
all.
drop me an email or send me a note.
Thank you.
And I just want to be clear on something. The job that you guys are contracted to do is very important to this community. I spend over 200 days a year on the water as a mayor. And, you know, hitting debris in the New River is a constant for me.
Yeah.
New River is a mess, continually a mess. And, you know, I'm happy to work with Marco to help improve that service. But right now, as it is, I think there's a lot in the way that needs to be improved in the levels of service. 50 bags a day, I think, is a dubious claim.
Per vote.
Per boat,
Yes.
that's a dubious claim.
So guys, we can't focus on this like this, whether it's 50 bags, 60 bags, etc. We'll dig into it. Melissa's there, y'all guys are there. We'll follow up with Glenn, etc. So,
Kind of a timely slide based on your feedback. If you would go back just one slide for me, Andres. Thank you so much. So we do track tons as one of the metrics that we use to validate the vendor's performance. And what you'll see is we're collecting north of 155 tons on an annual basis, which is pretty significant. To be frank, when you compare it to what municipalities
8 months. You have 155.
your eyesight's better than mine, my friend.
That's over 200.
Thank you. So what we do here is significant compared to what we see in neighboring communities. We know that there's opportunities for us to improve. We want to hear that feedback. Again, we're open to that feedback. Please share that through Marco and myself, and we'll be glad to make sure that we're incorporating that as we begin to move along the development of this relationship.
How much do you think so?
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, is it,
Never.
we're talking 1,000 tons, so there's some number that
There'll be sections that we go through along the intercoastal that we're going like onto the north section. My boat will stop and collect and then stop collecting because we have to go service the canals of the residents and then come back through. We'll do 10 canals, 15 canals, depending on the canals, how bad they are. Some days we may just do 1 canal and pick up so much garbage. And it's just, you go from one day, go back again, the next day, pass that same area, we just cleaned, it's still dirty. We gotta do the other residents canal and the other residents, we just can't stop. So any perception where it comes from? You just don't. The tides, the wind.
Okay. Could be the wind.
guys, we got to.
Deconstruction.
So it's clear we have issues. These guys are committed to the program. Please go ahead. We go let them finish the presentation, please.
So Loranda, I believe this is the map that you were interested in. Again, I'd be really happy to send that to you. I think it may be easier for you if you blow it up. It's a pretty tiny map, but that may answer some questions for you. And again, if there's areas you think that we should be including or have missed, we're open to hearing that. So we do also have GPS, and staff has access to the GPS that allows us to also ask for alerts and pings. So when we have issues in particular areas, or I have customers that have particular concerns in their neighborhoods, I actually get alerts both by text and by email to let me know that the boats are in there. And that helps me, number one, to make sure that each of those dots represents the boat and where the boat has traveled. But number two, for those areas that are serviced every other week, it allows me to confirm that the vendor is doing what the vendor is instructed to do. So these are the requests that we receive through SeeClick Fix. And you'll see where those are again by individual dots. That's part of how we gauge where we have areas of higher debris or higher concentrated debris that either need to be investigated or that require additional frequency of pickup.
So we often pick up dead animals from the water. There's an example, an alligator, they skin an alligator and just dump it in the water. We pick it up, we bring it to the dock, and crispy critter, what's it called?
We have a vendor that comes to collect.
You have a vendor. Relay them so that
All fried.
yeah. Southern. Floating docks, you see we pull floating docks, pilings, construction companies leave their booms. That's an example of one of the canals that we visit a lot. Floating barrels.
Yard waste.
Yard waste.
One of the common things
Yeah.
when landscapers doing work, they throw the landscape directly into the canal. We can alert code, but code has to see it in order to do anything to cite the properties. It happens all the time.
Cutting trees, trimming trees, dropping in the waters, pumping out their pools. We always let that know.
And you guys do test that water when
That's not their responsibility. And with that, just again, a big thank you for the invitation from the Marine Advisory Board. Please know that we're interested. We want the feedback. We want to hear what you're seeing. Please feed us that information so that we're making good decisions as we continue to move forward and keep our waterways clean and supporting our new Chief Waterway Officer. So I'll leave my cards out front. If there's anything that you have, please send that my way. Mr. Whitten, again, thank you so much.
So thank you. So we have a couple questions for you. I also want to say that one of the things about having the boat on the water is what we're hoping to accomplish by having additional assets, whether it's fire, pump out boat, etc. It's another pair of eyes. So you're being modest because these guys assisted Marco dragging 100-foot dock that broke loose at from Cooley's Landing. Am I correct? And that is not their job description, but as Andrew said, you pick up the phone, these guys are always there. So thank you for the support. Board, any questions from the board?
I had one.
Yes.
One last.
Public.
So to pick up that much.
What's your name, please?
Excuse me, what's
My name is Jeff Maggio. Okay. Great Park. I'm on the water a lot, kind of like going 200 days a year. And a lot of my friends are on the water 200 days a year. And when the city hired you guys, we were pretty excited. Soon after that, we were pretty deflated. And the reason being is we don't see you. Are you familiar with Four Oceans? So that boat was here for a little while, right? And every time the Four Oceans boat was out, I would get calls, I would get texts, and people would have pictures of them picking stuff out of the water. And we were, we loved it. So when we hired you guys,
I figured I'd see you guys out there doing your deal. And I figured my phone would light up every time you guys would be doing your deal and picking stuff up, and the dead animals and the plastic and the debris and all that stuff, and the 50 bags a day. I've never seen you guys out there. And many people have contacted me and say the same thing. It's very deflating. And I knew you were going to be here tonight. And that's why I showed up. Because I was so happy when they hired you. And then so deflated after seeing what's been done since we hired you.
So, and I thank you for your comments, Mr. Maggio. We've heard that feedback as well from some other folks that, like you, are on the waterways. We are working with Aquatics to do things like improve the markings on the vehicles that they're using in their assets in the water. Again, if you're seeing that there's an opportunity for improvement, I will leave my card on the table out front. I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to meet with us independently and give us your thoughts and give us your suggestions. We'd love that as well.
You guys work on the water. The other people that work on the water, we all kind of know each other. I mean, I know Courtney, he works on the water. I know some of the captains, and we'd love to know you guys. But so far, we haven't really had the opportunity.
So let me suggest this, for the standpoint of time, we have a crowd house, etc. I will follow up with Melissa. You get, these guys are as sharp as can be. They're on the ball. Are they doing the greatest job? I don't have the slightest idea. And I'm not sure any of us do. And one thing I'm not going to do is call them down if I don't have the information. The bottom line is, I heard there's 165 miles of canals here, etc. How many boats do you have?
2.
Okay, so
Here.
practically you can only accomplish so much. So what I'd like to do is follow up offline. I'll prepare a report that we'll have for the board summarizing what monies are being spent, where you are, what we can do better, because we can add questions here for the next hour. So
How many boats did he say was operated?
2. So we're going to spread those around.
And
Another-
I appreciate your feedback. And if we can, I'll give you my card.
Yeah.
Contact me. Anything that we could do to make this better, absolutely. I mean, we're here to work for the city and for the residents.
We got to make you more visible. Mike, question as well from the public.
One more. My name's Mike Lambrix. I want to know what, from your perspective, what can we do as a city to support you more, to make you more effective, efficient? What can we do as a public? I mean, I think it was mentioned before, but like, what can we do as nonprofits that are conservation nonprofits? Like, what can we do to make you guys better, to make what you're doing more effective for our city?
So I think the residents are more interactive, like they use the service, the number that the city has to let us know when they're having problems in their backyard. So, they see something flowing in the water, call it in. That's what they're paying us. So that's what our boats are supposed to be doing, collecting that debris.
I've actually talked to some of or tried to talk to some of your operators. And that begs another question. Are your operators licensed mariners?
Sorry,
Are they licensed mariners?
licensed captains?
Yeah.
To collect debris in the water, you're gonna need to be a licensed captain.
Says who?
Guys, we can't do this now. Stop. The last thing I want to do, we have the gracious company of these people. The last thing I'm going to do is back some in the corner. If you want to challenge them or not, we could do that. They're here respectfully, and I'm not going to go that way. I have no right to pass judgment. Let's stop.
I'm not passing judgment. I'm asking a question.
So we can't pass judgment on that. I don't know if it's right or wrong. No, I understand, but this is not the purpose of this.
Steve, if I could add one
Please.
thing, because our mayor is here. I think one thing that is very important, for myself to work on, for everyone to work on, and with the assistance of our elected officials, is that we push other municipalities that are in the county to also
Absolutely.
pick up
You're
their
right.
fair share of trash. Because as far as I know, we're the ones picking up everyone else's trash that floats into our city.
Yep.
And if they can reduce it before it gets here, that just allows our crews more availability to be out more in the public and responding to calls. So if other cities are able to pick up that trash before it gets here, that can only help our situation out. And obviously, if our elected officials can reach out to those other cities, that'd be helpful.
Good time to be here.
Yeah.
So look, I think
Tough room. I don't know.
We got started. Wait till the Philadelphia game. Yeah. So let's do this. Here we go. We have frustrated people. I understand. Norm's on the water, other folks are on the water. We're not closing the door on this. Melissa's been kind enough to offer her services. When you offer your services, we're gonna take you up on it. So we'll have Melissa back. We're gonna hear, I think the biggest takeaway is you guys need greater visibility. So we're gonna work on that together, you know, and again, you have two boats. I know somebody's out there picking stuff up. Andrew talks about you with the greatest level of respect. Let's see what we can do to make our other board members as comfortable. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So speaking of elected officials, so the mayor, so the mayor is gracious enough to join us. I reach out regularly, et cetera, and it's safe to say. Hey, Bobby. It's safe to say very busy, et cetera. The reason I reach out is because we try to keep everybody abreast of what we're doing, but my feeling always is that the troops need to hear from the generals once in a while. So I asked the mayor to stop by. So in preparation for this, Mayor, I had reached out to our board members and said, so, hey, listen, the mayor's coming, this, I want it to be casual, fun, etc. But let's put together some questions that might be meaningful to you. So, and so let me start. So we did. We got multiple pages, and what I'm going to do with those, and it's comments, questions, etc. Decide we're going to put them together in a format, submit them to all the commissioners, and show you kind of a big picture of what we're thinking. Would you put up number 10, please, Andre? So what I decided again is we took the various questions. A lot of them had to do with aging, infrastructure, etc. And
Very sensitive about that word aging. So just because.
yeah, me too. I turned 75 in March. So we put together, I'm going to say that was the original whiteboard that's next to the sign over there. We started that in January 1st on a joint MIASF meeting. And that was our charge for the year, to start focusing on, you have it there. And we didn't have any, it was all black, and that's how it started. And as we started going through various months, we started checking off where we're making progress. So in July, we did a mid-year update, where we are, what's left to be done. The items in green are ones that we made progress ones, orange, somewhat, red, not much. So what I thought we'd do instead is hand this to you and say, the things, there's a couple items that are starred. These are the areas we're kind of focused on. Legal discharge. You heard about the Trump vote coming. Safe to say the mayor's involved in that. On the fireboat, we are working with PD and fire rescue on capital needs. Mayor is again a big supporter of that. City seawalls and infrastructure, crumbling, aging stuff. You know, the question is, what is the city doing? Well, no, it's of interest, but there's budgets. So down below, speed zones. We met with FWC yesterday. They're going to work on the speed zone where the young lady passed away recently. So we have tremendous support from them and the city commissioners. The bottom was make voting safe and accessible for all. And are we making some progress? Yes. We've got FWC involved, we've got Travis, we have BSO, we have fire. Everybody's on board moving this forward. The commissioners have been extremely supportive. So it's not on a challenging basis, just kind of say hello and share some thoughts with us.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you so much for inviting me here tonight. I've been before this board before, but never before a packed house like this. So I imagine you have a long agenda, and I don't want to take up your whole
No,
evening.
we're actually all here for you.
Okay. I'm sure. First of all, you know, been on this commission for many, many years, not just as mayor, but as a commissioner. And as District 2 commissioner, you know, much of my district included the waterways on the east side of town. So I've been very sensitive to the idea of what water means to Port Lauderdale. What it means is it's the lifeblood of the city. You know, we're we were founded on recreational navigation and just people coming to Fort Lauderdale. We're the marine capital of the world, yachting capital of the world, the largest international boat show in the world. And the whole idea of living in Fort Lauderdale, even if you don't have a boat, is to still enjoy what the waterways provide in terms of the environment, the scenery, everything about it. But the one thing that is most disturbing is how people desecrate the waterways. And we talked a little bit tonight, well, you talked a lot, I got here late, about about how people just throw things in the water, okay? I live on a lake, it's not a navigable waterway, but I live on a lake. It just amazes me what washes up against my dock, okay? Besides the coconuts and the palm fronds, but kayak came to my dock. Like, who was missing a kayak? I mean, people are just very disrespectful. But in addition to that, so I'm not going to talk about that because you heard a lot about that tonight. And obviously, if we could have 10 votes, I think that would add more resources to what we need in order to clean up the waterways. But the source of the pollution, of course, are the people. The people just letting things blow off their boat, or just they dump things, discharge, everything about the waterways. People are very, very disrespectful. A few years back, we decided with Miami Waterkeepers to start randomly testing the quality of the water. And so we continued to do that with some success in determining what's clean and what's not. Many people think that because our water is brown, it's dirty. But the reality is it's the hardness of the water in many cases that causes the discoloration. Your tap water hopefully will not be green next year at this time. When we build our new water treatment plant, we're gonna have the ribbon cutting hopefully at the end of next summer. So we're really excited about that. But with regard to the recreational navigation of waterways, it's been my belief that my last term, this term, we want to focus on how we improve the quality of the water. And people discharging the water, whether they be solid waste or liquid, has become a real problem here in the city. It's not just started, last year or the year before. It's kind of culture of the community to just disrespect the waterways that they come here to cherish. So how do we combat that? How do we try to make our waterways better? I don't know the answer to that. I come to you folks to help the city commission. You're much closer to what we're seeing than the city commission is. And so coming here and listening to you, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, are some ideas that you have. We have 2 boats that come and skim some of the waterways, but 165 miles, come on, it's like a drop in the bucket. We need more resources. We know we hired for the first time in the history of the city a chief waterways officer. So Marco, hello, thank you. Don't hide. And that shows the city commission's commitment to focusing on something that we should have had a team working on this years ago. But here we are, and hopefully we have a good head start, and Marco can marshal our resources and bring the city together, community, government agencies, and people that work for us to try to see how we can collaborate and make sure that we achieve some level of success. So we're counting on you, Marco, to bring this in.
Got it.
Now, trying to track down, the individual perpetrators of this, it's impossible. People visit here, they come and they go. Some people live here. Some people live on their boats. We've got to change the culture. We have to change the culture of people knowing that if they're doing something that violates the law, we have all the laws in the books. It's just enforcing them. And the idea of the city trying to enforce them is, it's a Herculean task. When you've got that many miles, that many voters, and that many people coming to the city, we want to enjoy what we've all come to enjoy as all. So I know you have a number of hot topics here. Do you want me to address each one?
No, I really don't. It was just, Will you pass me that page again? But no, I did, again, it was to be comfortable, easy.
I'm comfortable. These are my people.
You-
Lieutenant Sarah's here.
There you go.
But it was casual, so. So so the fact is, but with your support and each of the commissioners, they passed the amendment to 8145 last night. We have the pump out vote coming. It's, as the mayor says, it's kind of a drop in the bucket, but it's a first step. So now we have votes that through our anchorage limitation on 8145, guess what? They cannot illegally discharge because we have a pump out vote that's going to take that off them. So, and if they do, there's a significant fine. So no more pooping in our water.
Well, it's the enforcement. Who's gonna be watching? How many, it's a culture that we have to somehow, it's like, how do you get people to stop jaywalking? People who walk in the middle of Broward Boulevard, just because, they're too lazy to go to the corner, where there's a crosswalk and wait for the light to change. It's a culture. I don't know how it started in Fort Lauderdale, but people just willy-nilly walk across streets. And we wonder why we have the highest pedestrian death and injury rate in the entire country. How do we change that culture? So back to boating and back to navigation. It's a culture that we have to figure out a way to encourage people to respect the waterways. And if you see something, say something. We should have an emergency number where our Marine Patrol is alerted to something that's happened, and we need to be able to follow up immediately and to ensure that doesn't happen again. So again, our police chief, our fire chief, I know our fire chief's here. Hello, Steve. Thank you for being here. And it's very, very difficult to be able to enforce the rules that we have on the books. But we're there to do it. Like you said last night, we passed the first reading of new ordinance to try to remove as many derelict boats in the waterways as possible. Thank God the state took our handcuffs off, and now you can't anchor more than 30 days within a 6-month period overnight. These are small tools that help us try to dissuade people from thinking they can take advantage of our waterways. So, but that's with regard to illegal discharge. Let's talk about city seawalls and infrastructure.
So with your point, so Marco is producing flyers. We met with FWC yesterday, spent 3 or 4 hours on the water with them, looking at the area where the young lady died. They're going to redo the signs there. If you're on the waterway, you try to read the signs. We have Raquel Williams out. You literally have to be 2 feet in front of one of those signs to read the sign.
Those 2 young girls that died, it could have happened anywhere. They were young, they were reckless, they didn't quite know how to navigate a jet ski. I feel very bad for them. I feel very bad for the parents, the family. Accidents do happen. I've seen a lot of a lot of close calls. We constantly getting complaints of people who are in no wake zones with these small boats, these watercraft, and they constantly is noise pollution as well as creating waves in the intercoastal. Again, it's a culture that we've got to try to engender amongst those that live here as well as visit here. But I can just imagine, what were they, 14, 15, or they were very, very young. And it's just sad that something like that would happen in our community. Was it preventable? I don't know. How do you prevent it?
So there is culpability in the parent part. Let's face it. You have 14 and 16-year-old kid, etc. They're the ones that rented the jet ski. If I have my kid on the jet ski, they're with me. They're not riding to
That's another exactly. Well, we
But-
have rules against that, but they violated the rules.
So we're working on that, and that's why FWC was here. It always comes down for us to education and enforcement. Steve stepped up, Travis, Chief Schultz have stepped up, everybody stepped up to work on this. So you're going to see some efforts here, and it's because of the tremendous groundswell of support. So other questions, guys?
Well, let me just
Go
go
ahead,
ahead and list the city seawalls. As you know, we're replacing miles of city seawall at a tremendous expense, but it has to be done. that's mostly to ensure, to, to ensure our resilience against, rising sea levels, which we don't seem to see any end in sight.
So the
Again,
day dockage was an issue, since you're going to that. That was an issue we've discussed in one of our board meetings growing up, is whether or not we can find a spot where our residents can tie up their boat, maybe under 30 feet, tie it up, go to the beach, shop, etc. We don't have day docks. I don't have an answer. I don't know if any of us do. It's just something.
doesn't the EMR have day dockage?
Or now they charge you.
$40.
Nobody's charging.
$40 a day.
Well, for just to go to the Sorley.
Yeah.
Marina Village, they'll charge you $40. How you got it there.
You go to dinner, 45.
Yeah.
Our old marina. Right.
It's $250. I would just have the enjoyment.
If it's for boats, you don't really need parking per se. It would just be an area for the boater to tie up, maybe walk a dog, drop off some trash if there was trash. And on the trash, I would say that the density, and I think you nailed something with to see something, say something. And you know, you bringing in what Block Island does, I think that was really clever. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can post these. Did you see something? Make a call. If there's a number that everybody,
Like a tips line.
yeah, for the boaters on the waterway for them to see it. But in the dense areas, I noticed in particular 15th Street and up that river, up the ICW and the densely populated areas are the garbage bags that are like tumbleweed that roll into the waterway.
What's that about?
But for what it's worth, I think it's because of overstuffed dumpsters or overstuffed garbage on shore. I just don't know that there are malicious, like the one group of kids that were throwing trash off their boat. They were ostracized, and even kids don't want to do that. This stuff realistically is coming out of somebody's trash can into another trash can that is overfilled, and then the wind blows it and it starts to tumbleweed into the water. A lot of that stuff happens. And
Why
so
believe
there may be a way to, I don't know, where the boats are, have, places to dump the trash from the boats, because there's all consumables. And that consumable is a good thing. Everybody wants it. Don't have places to put garbage. No, they really.
Marinas need to offer public pump out too. That's a big problem in this city. We just built a brand new marina north of Las Olas Boulevard, and they will not allow a boat to come in. If I have a 50-footer with a waste tank that's full, I can't go in there and pump out. They won't let me do it.
Do they have a pump out station there?
Yes, there's pump outs every slip.
Private. It's all private.
It's all private. And that actually goes for several. There are several marinas in this town. I'm sorry, but in this town, the yachting capital of the world, every single marina should offer a public pump out system. Now, yeah, maybe there's a fee attached to it. That's fine, but it should be available. I know some marinas that have pump out facilities that haven't worked in 8 years.
Not in this city. We just don't. The pump out facilities are not working.
It's not working.
So then look into that. Because to me, that's a big part of the problem. Pump out facilities, especially larger boats.
Yeah, sure.
Right there by that marina, we just built a new pump station. So the capacity is there. It's not like they're having to sustain, the sewage and all that, and they have to hold it in their own tank. There's a pump station right there. So, all right, so we'll look into that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
And that also is something that Marco and team are looking at, is better signage. You almost have to know the pump outs are there. So we're gonna have better signage to let people know where they actually are.
If you have a lot of them, then someone can expect when they see a marina that they should be able to go right to that marina.
Fortunately,
we don't have that. Okay.
The gas stations don't have 15th Street.
Gas stations don't have them.
The big difference is
Charge you $5 for a gallon of gas. So what does a gallon of gas go for?
Over 5.
But once we have the pump out boat in the water, that will service the sandbar, that will service Lake Sylvia, etc. That will make a huge dent. And then we again have to work with the marinas, etc. The liverboards in areas along Hendricks, etc. are a real problem. But yeah, Travis is working.
So educate me a little bit about it. Okay. So I have a friend who has a large boat here in Portland. and, he invited me to dinner with a bunch of other people. And, before we had dinner, he was very proud to show me below deck the water treatment system he has. Okay. So he's telling me all about it. It was all very fancy, and he says, and yes. And then at the end, we pump all the gray water out of the water, the intercoastal. I said, what do you mean gray water? I said, that's not good. We turn the water gray. I said, why aren't you filtering it so that it's clear water? He said, well, the standards don't require that. So, Bob, is that a state thing?
I
Do you know?
I don't want to jump into that one because I don't think, we need to know the answer to that because I know in the Mediterranean, you cannot discharge gray water in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, you can here as long as it goes through, I think it was a type 1 or type 2 marine sanitation device.
I'm not sure.
But yes, if they have the appropriate treatment device before they pump it over, they are allowed to. And the state and the federal government can establish no discharge zones where you cannot discharge anything, period.
State.
Yeah, we cannot. But in our city, as long as it's going through the approved marine sanitation device, which is, I think it's a emulsifier and something to disinfect it and remove any solids, then it can be pumped over for us.
So there you go.
And just to be clear, between the gray water and the black water.
Right.
It wasn't black water. No, it was gray, but still gray is gray, it's not clear. And I know that there are countries in the Mediterranean that you could be, fined for pumping.
You have to have a separate drain.
That's why you go to the Mediterranean, you go to these resorts and there's crystal clear water. Yeah. Why can't we have crystal clear water? It's ridiculous. So we'll test certain areas like the sandbar. We've tested there, and it's
Weekly.
and the results come back.
The majority of the time, that sandbar.
According to but you would never know it because of the coloring. Right? So there's something new every day, right?
So Dr. Gaspin has been very supportive of us, et cetera, and she obviously is the one that taught us early on that brown is okay. It's just the nature of what comes down from the upper river, et cetera. That's the difference between brown water and gray water. The problem with gray water is typically the average person who uses a sink on the boat, it goes directly overboard. So that is still considered somewhat gray water. And we all do that. I also do jaywalk on brown.
Shower water.
But that there is a problem. So we actually had a visitor back a couple months ago. Nancy, whatever her name is, she brought up gray water. So I appreciate you doing that. We're gonna dig into that as well.
But the discharge, I think, is very, very important. We should these pump stations need to be every, and as much as we can create the infrastructure to provide more. It's an expensive proposition, but necessary if we're going to respect the waterways, which is the lifeblood of our city, which I talked about at the very beginning. And what's the next thing I know?
So the next thing we talked was speed zones, no wake, slow speed water sports. That changed from orange to green recently because of the fact we have a focus on this. We've opened discussions. This was the principal reason why FWC flew in from Tallahassee yesterday, et cetera. So we are talking about looking into areas that perhaps have excess speed, have some blind corners. FWC spent a fair amount of time doing drone photos, et cetera. So we're working on that. Okay. And we'll hope to report back to you shortly. Okay. The last one was make boating safe and accessible. That was kind of our year-to-date mantra, that issues like we talked about on ICW in front of Birch Park, where, we see wave action going over the seawall. If you want to take your kid to go on a kayak, you can't do it, not a small boat. So we want to make sure we level the playing field. So whatever size yacht you should be able to enjoy our waterways the same way.
Right. Anyone else have any questions from the board?
Talk about the dredging over by the Dunkel Park area, also over in the Broward in that area. They help with, I read about it, dredge, and also help clean up the water quality at the same time. And what happened to the project of the raising of Broward Boulevard? Maybe about 3 years ago, they were talking about raising that, and something just fell short.
So Broward Boulevard is a county road, so any discussion would be a county discussion. We don't have any authority. I don't know why they'd be raising it actually, but I wish they would do something to make it more attractive. But as far as dredging canals and waterways, so the city commission considered that a few years back, and they came to our meeting with pitchforks and knives saying, "Don't you dare dredge our canals," because we were going to assess all the landowners. Okay, and they came out by the dozens and said, "Do not dredge our canals. Let's keep them the way they are," because they did not want to be. We'd have to assess all the riparian owners if we were to do that. So we just killed the idea. Now, if the community wants to resurrect it, I'm in favor of it. But so far, we've been told by many of the people who live on the waterways that they do not want their canal dredged.
On the North Fork,
Sorry,
talking about the North Fork, right? They don't want those dredged. That's real shallow stuff.
The citywide programs.
Citywide.
Okay.
trying to get a program citywide.
But
I agree with you.
But
It
I
would
know,
help clean up
let's
some
talk
of
about the Broward Bridge. I know Chris Smith, during his term as state rep, was working on raising that bridge. Somehow I know they just went, the project was dead. Because
Again,
people in that area,
That's a state bridge and a county road.
then
So we weren't involved.
Okay.
Other questions of the mayor before we let him go?
You think there'd be support amongst the commission to revisit the issues of the river? What do you mean the issues of the river?
Moratorium.
Well, we've kind of put it on.
We got a different approach to.
Yeah, we haven't been approving any dock waivers on the river.
No, we haven't had a single application since then.
Because they know.
I mean, we were all frustrated that it came down the way it did, but the fact is, what the mayor's thoughts were was deal with everything on an individual basis. If it's a problem, it's a problem, and that's what we're doing, so. Other questions?
Yes, sir. We have an incredible destination. People vote for. Up here at some. Is there anything to try to make day boating more accessible? Restaurants on the water, not have exorbitant fees, taxes, and restaurants that are using city marinas. And, I mean, there was a time where you could go to
Shooters?
Yeah.
Well, you can still go to shooters. Yeah, no one's stopping you. The only
They
place,
get you up for about $30 to park your boat there. but-
well, you park your car, it's
Yeah.
like a valet.
Right.
So, the only place where we had a problem was when Salt 7 was operating at the Icon.
Right.
So the waterway there was just not, it wasn't conducive
Yeah,
to
just cool.
allowing boats to be out there. So that's the only place I
The
know.
Las Olas Marina would be one that we could revisit to look at, but should they be charging people to go there and spend money?
Or you don't go that direction? Mr. Dunkel? Go ahead, please.
There's, Las Olas Marina is private. Not city,
Yeah, we charge them rent.
With the landlord.
With a
Yes. yes. They have a contract with Ocean Front
Something I said,
to allow vessels to berth there while they go to Ocean Front. One of the factors that Las Olas Marina has to take into account, what happens if one of those vessels bumps into one of the ponds? So you're looking at charges for insurance, you're looking at charges for people. So the cost of it to me would be outrageous, but it's appropriate. Given what Las Olas Marina is.
$250 to dock your boat, go to Ocean Prime. Take the water taxi.
Right.
Yeah.
Mayor, thank you.
I was in the floating docks don't require ladders anymore, or all the rest of the docks. Somebody was to fall in Ocean Prime, there's no way to get out of the water. They used to require ladders to be on all the docks. That's no longer.
Talk to the Ocean Prime.
That's not working. They had to change.
All right.
What is this? The world famous M&M.
M&M's.
No, world famous, and we saved the one box of world famous Oreos.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
So. Always stop by. So, moving on. We didn't forget you, excuse me, Glenn, where are we here? Glenn Marcos, Chief Procurement Officer. So we also had a request from one of our members, and again, I think we're actually doing okay, guys. So we're trying, although I see a couple of falling asleep there. So we had a question about, again, how does procurement process works? I don't have the slightest idea. Glenn, come on up. So Glenn, excuse me, is Chief Procurement Officer. And he's been gracious enough to join us, kind of give us an idea of what procurement is, what they do, et cetera. And thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate you having me here. Tough act to follow, of course. So I kind of feel like I have to impress everybody here. Let me go back to perhaps maybe explaining the basics of public procurement, because if you were to define what it is, I think one simple word that comes up often is buy. We end up buying. But there is understanding of the basics that I think that we need to discuss. And I'm just gonna give a brief presentation, and then I'm just gonna open it up to any questions that you may have. You know, so the question is, what is public procurement? And so public procurement refers to the process which governments, public institutions, organizations acquire goods and services, works from the private sector. That includes construction services, professional services dealing with construction. And the process involves spending taxpayers' money to meet the needs of the public, making it critical that the procurement process is transparent, efficient, and fair. So your prior question that you ended up, you raised some good valid points, and we welcome that. We want to be challenged. We want to go ahead and make sure that you are holding us accountable. We want for not only the general public, but our residents to understand that we do have a very transparent process. And if you feel uncomfortable with something, I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with it. So my offer still stands. I can do an impromptu presentation, go to our website and pop up that very contract that you were asking about and show you that transparency and showing you that we hold certain folks accountable, including the vendor that was here. I kind of smiled at your questions and all that because honestly, I was very tough on that vendor. Well, especially through the procurement process, I tend to want to make sure that the actual response to our solicitation are not only responsive to the solicitation requirements, but actually making sure that we have responsible vendors. And that's critical.
You go through an RFQ process.
So it all depends. It all depends, and I'm gonna go through the different methods, but I'm gonna take you there. So you can understand what method is out there for us to approach, depending on the specifications. So since you're asking, I'm gonna be very, very elementary and basic as far as the different process. You can have an invitation to bid versus a request for proposal. And actual invitation to bid involves detailed, clear specifications in which the city is able to tell and inform the supplier community the exact needs of the city. That allows for an apples to apples comparison. As you saw before you, it will allow for the low responsive and responsible bidder to be awarded the contract. Okay. I want to dispel any bad casting or perhaps negative perception of what that means. You have always, the common joke as far as it's low bid. It's not just low bid. It used to be low bid, but now it's a three-pronged test where it involves not only the low pricing, but responsiveness and responsibility. So that responsibility aspect means that the city has to take a look into providing for due diligence, looking into the qualifications, experience, the resumes, past projects, references. That's the responsibility. So not only are we looking for low pricing, but we're looking for responsiveness, that you have provided everything that's required in the solicitation documents, but as well as making sure that you're capable to do the job. As we ended up providing for this individual from Aquatic, he had to demonstrate past experience. And that's why he was awarded the actual contract, and it was just not based on low bid. In an RFP setting, it's a little bit different. In an RFP setting, it's very, very basic. The city has identified a problem and seeking a solution from the private sector to that problem. So we make a problem statement and then they come up with that solution. An RFP, request for proposals, is exactly that. It allows you to compare apples to oranges to grapes and so on. It's a very subjective process, unlike a ITB that you look at low bid and then you work from that. And if they're responsive and responsible, you make the award. If they're not, you go on to the next low bid. And an RFP, it's a little bit different. We have a weighted criteria. We have an EC, subject matter experts. That's to say that you guys are subject matter experts in the marine field. If we're buying a vessel, I feel more than confident that I can put this in front of you guys. You guys can review the responses to the RFP, and then with the weighted criteria, you'll start ranking on the different factors that's embedded in the solicitation. So, and again, once the EC, and before the EC receives the proposal, that due diligence process occurs within procurement. We look at the responses, ensure the fact that there's responsiveness involved and responsibility involved. Only if you're responsive and responsible will the EC be able, the EC being the evaluation committee, will be able to review the proposal and then rank those proposals.
Okay, so with an invitation to bid, delineating that from an RFP, where you might run it by the Marine Advisory Board, on an invitation to bid, you are asking specific contractors to bid on a contract or a job that needs to be done. Is there any way in the future, especially like, for example, with aquatics, since we have them in the room tonight, or infrastructure, very good. Is there any way to run that by citizens oversight boards? Hey, we're gonna bring in XYZ company to bid on these contracts. We'd like to run it by Marine Advisory Board or infrastructure, whatever it is, whatever the citizens oversight board is, to add in that layer of involvement. In other words, how did Aquatic Control Group get the contract without it ever coming past this board, or did it? I don't know that it did. I know the rebid didn't.
Yeah, so I would venture to say that the answer to that is probably not. I know for a fact that if we were to have, let's say, for example, a solicitation go before a board, then I would tell you that I'm going to go back to some of the key tenets and principles that we follow, which is transparency, accountability, and ensuring the fact that there's free of conflicts. I will tell you that I've been involved in my prior lifetimes with prior agencies where we brought certain solicitation in front of the board, and there is a hidden intent behind it where there are conflicts, and that there's changes to the specification, and that those changes are geared to perhaps maybe somebody that someone knows. So to be directly responsive to your question, our subject matter experts tend to be city staff because of the fact that they have to adhere to our quota of ethics, and there's certain requirements that we want to go ahead and make sure that is being met. One of them is free from any conflicts. Number one. Number two, that there is this other tenet that we would have to meet, which is that you're free from any collusion. We have seen that in the last several years. I know that I have met with certain members, primarily from the FBI and the Attorney General, in which they have been looking at possible collusion. And so we don't want to present that situation in our procurement process. I do believe that it doesn't mean that if, let's say, for example, if somebody is drafting and drafting specifications, they're more than free. As I'm now recommending to one of our the departments, they're more than free to have a meeting with the industry and then seeking feedback from the industry when it's time of drafting specifications. I would think that within that meeting, somebody like members of this board will be attending those meetings, so we can draft those specifications and address the needs of not only the actual department, but from the actual board. But to go back to your answer as far as whether or not this solicitation came before this board for approval before it was issued, I believe the answer is no.
Okay, my only, and this just be my last statement on this, where we are at with this, with Aquatic Control Group, for example, there are some glaring inefficiencies in the contract, and we're having to kind of address some of it from an operational standpoint after the contract has been signed. So I think, again, going forward, if some of this were to come before Marine Advisory Board, it might help the procurement process, not necessarily in terms of selecting the vendor, but in just being able to shape what it is that we're actually trying to accomplish.
Okay, I mean, that's a fair point. I know that Melissa Doyle does a very good job. She's very, very open and willing to entertain those thoughts. What I will do is that I will reach out to her tomorrow and let her know that in the future, when she is putting her requirements together, that perhaps maybe she comes before this board and see whether or not there's any recommendations that you can go ahead and make that she can consider and then embedding that into those requirements. So thank you for that suggestion.
Do you know when the renewal for that contract comes up, ACG, for like a year and a half or something like that?
You're talking about Aquatic?
Yeah.
I think Aquatic might be a 2-year with the option to renew.
No, but I think it comes up to renew, Mr. Beckoff, you know?
I think it's
Give me 1 second.
September 27th.
Give me 1 second.
Next year, right?
It's 2027.
Yes, 2027 for sure.
Can you go to our website for a second? Because this is where I get to show off. So I want to show off and kind of make it where. And hopefully it works.
Hopefully it works.
Yeah. hopefully it works.
I want to say it's September
The
27th.
reason why I asked that question is because I think it would be incumbent upon this board. I'm not on the board, obviously, I'm a member of the public, but I mean, as a member of the public, I think it would be an amazing opportunity for this board to be able to opine and be a part of the new contract for ACG, given what the knowledge of this board is collectively. So that's just a suggestion of mine.
I'm sorry, go to government. Go to procurement.
Say the contract for ACG, they might not be the one who gets it.
Goes right straight down.
Is
to
the
procurement
contract for the
services.
job, whatever it is. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
Right there.
That's not ACG, yeah.
That's what I record these things.
All right, so we have tiles on our website. They're self-explanatory. You got the supplier portal. That's where you go and you can register. We do have registration guides and a video on how to do that. If you can go under to active contract, right below, right there. All right, like I said, we don't hide anything. I went ahead and one of the first things that I did when I came to the city from Broward County was to ensure the fact that I pushed out all of the contracts onto the website. So if you can go to supplier name and type in Aquatic, and hopefully the search field works. AQ. UA. Yeah.
Subject matter.
And then hit enter. All right. So you got Aquatic Control. Your effective date was 2024. It expires in 2027. So it was a 3-year contract.
Sorry.
It is a 3-year contract. Andres, if you don't mind, because I want to show them how easy this is. If you can click on the blue right there, just click on it. Anywhere. Nope, not there. Just on the blue right there. Click. Twice. There you go. Okay. Those are the prices right there. It's all listed there. So we do this for a reason. We don't transparency. Public Records Act. Don't give me the Public Records Act. I don't need it. It's already there. Okay. When it comes to attachments and the agreements, as you mentioned before, Andres, if you can, just go into attachments, and I should have had several attachments there. There you go, including the solicitation, the bid tabulation and the agreement. If you can click on the agreement and the city commission action, which is the commission agenda memo. Click twice on it. Oh, you know what, Andres, I'm sorry. Go to your scroll bar, go from left to right on the scroll bar, left to right. And then click on the hyperlink. That's gonna be the agreement. If you scroll down, I believe that part of the exhibits is the bid tabulation. So if you can keep on scrolling down, hopefully this doesn't make a liar out of me, but.
It's different.
Go all the way down.
If the bid tabulation is in this, then it's different than the
Drag it all the way.
contract that I saw.
Right, the thing on the right all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
There you go.
If the bid tabulation is an exhibit here, then it's different than the version that I saw.
Okay, and then look, listen, that can be possible. You saw the surety bond, so he's bonded. Keep on going up. Keep on going up. There's some. That's part of the contract. You look, so.
Yeah, this is completely different than the contract I saw.
And it could be, so, but I just wanna let you know that it's there.
Very good, thank you.
So,
I got a question for you. Is it same, is that the same in the infrastructure with the raising of the seawall?
Yeah.
Where do you find that?
there, everything, so all of our contracts, all of our contracts that are term contracts, meaning that it's more than 1 year and it has a renewal term. If it's a project specific contract, you will not find it here. Okay, now you will find the agenda item on our website. But project specific contracts are not term contracts. These contracts that you're seeing before you are term contracts that have renewal options, and it's there for everybody to go ahead and see, including competitors. I want competitors to know these are the prices. If you go ahead and do better, go ahead and do better. So, but you will see here all types of contracts, professional services, hiring of architects, engineers, land surveyors, janitorial services, landscaping, everything that we buy, for the most part, we have it on this list.
So, let's see if we move forward, guys. One of the suggestions. Maybe we can get involved in some of these at your discretion, if we could be of benefit to you. Because again, it's not that we are prejudiced as much as perhaps a little more knowledge than you are. So if we can assist in the process, please let's stay together. We know it's coming up in 2027, but if again, there are other bids that might affect this group or things that we can assist you with, please reach out.
Will do. I appreciate it. And I'll let Melissa know. And I'll be somewhat remiss if I don't say I'm so impressed with you as being the chair. My first time here in this whole entire board. Quite impressed. I've never been here, so I want to go ahead and thank you for the job you're doing. I know you're all volunteers, so thank you so much.
We have a great team, and first of all, Melissa Doyle, any comments anybody makes from Melissa Doyle knocks it out of the park. She's a tremendous asset here, as you are. We're gonna avail ourselves of her and you as well, so thank you. So, getting to the business side for those that are paid on an hourly basis, I do apologize. And I apologize for keeping our folks on the two waivers we have waiting. So if I can move this along, on the business side, let me get to the first one. We have a dock waiver at, excuse me. We have dock waiver at 3013, 3019 Harbor Drive. You need to understand a little complicated on the surface. This will be a Tyler Chappelle presentation, and I believe Stephanie Toothaker is also representing the applicant. Take it away, guys.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. Tyler and Gabe are actually going to give the presentation on the dock. So I just wanted to give you a little information and history.
Touch louder, please.
I just wanted to give you a little information and history on the property. So you all are familiar with the property, of course. This is adjacent to what used to be the Bahia Cabana site. And this has forever been a site that had, you know, very large boats in the waterway. It's a very wide stretch. we did a project very recently that was approved by the city commission. After it was approved, it's Peter Jago Ocean Harbor Properties is the entity, but after the project was approved, they actually partnered with Riva Yachts. So it is a Riva branded residences. It's Riva Residences. They actually just recently purchased a Riva yacht, which is really neat because as people go and they're for sale condo units, very, very expensive, high quality units. And the Riva yacht is part of like the whole, the whole look that they've got going. It's a beautiful project. We actually don't have pictures of the project in here, but I just wanted to share with you that when we did this project, we actually did have a lot of support from our neighbors. We had letters of support from some of our most significant neighbors, and it was just a very well done, designed by Architectonica. And some of you know, I also represent the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, Informa, and we actually Informa is here. One of the first things we did when we started looking at these waivers, and Tyler and his team do as well. We both represent Informa and represent Boat Show, but we wanted to ensure that there was no conflict with the boat show. As you know, the boat show splashes in the docks. The docks actually float here, and you can actually see, obviously in addition to the VMR, project itself, some of those docks and boats are a little bit closer. So we wanted to ensure that there was no issue whatsoever with the boat show. And I think is here actually here to say that they're in support of this project as well. And there's also letters of support in the package. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, and we're happy to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you.
My name is Gabe Petita. I'm here with the Chappelle Group, Environmental Consultants. Sorry. So we just got a couple aerials here. I'll kind of skim through this, make this fairly quick, just some visuals of the property. You can see here we've got 5 big boats here in these slips. The different view there. About how big are those boats? About 50, 60 foot.
No, they're sticking out currently, how far?
There I go.
And the pilings are sticking 25 feet
I'll
off.
get to that.
Guys, let's let them finish their presentation. Thank you. Go ahead.
So these are just some historicals. We've been roughly the same size boats there since 1998. All the projects. And this is from our Seagrass survey we did in 2023. So, still significant vessels in the same footprint there.
Started. Go ahead. So does everybody understand where this is? This is essentially the entrance to Lake Sylvia there, right along there. So if you're able to zoom out, it is a wide open area, and then it goes right into the area that we've been dealing with for the last 7 months.
This is far up top, and then Hall of Fame above that.
Lake Sylvia.
So this is our existing plan here. You can see, I know it's a little hard to find on the TV here, but
So I'm actually a little confused exactly where that is. Is the fire station right there? Yeah, so next door is that modular thing that's on that lot right there, you're gonna build, I guess.
That one, yeah.
It's like a little building there, it's kind of modular building right there.
Right.
Right
here.
We building a bigger project. So it goes
Is that the property you're talking about?
Right. Fire station first.
Yeah,
then
you are.
and then the one next to it, two sides.
One next to it, you're talking about. One with the modular thing.
Yeah, because we worked with this, that's the temporary sales center together to create that, yeah.
Well, it used to be 2 apartment buildings, right, and now it's combined into one property.
Come back. Is there a big building going up there?
Yes, that's what I said.
And is that going to have a dock?
That's.
all
the-
right. How build it is,
It's not 3001 property?
313 and 319 Harvard Drive.
Right, but what's going on 3001 and 3007? Isn't that where the big building command?
That's the Kia Cabana, it's a different project.
But that's a building going up, isn't it?
There's an approved building there, but they've resubmitted.
So there's an approved something the way it sits today.
There's an approved project adjacent to this approved project. That's correct. Yes.
Alright, so this is our existing layout. that's there currently. You can see it's a little hard to see from your guys' view. 36 feet is this dock here and 35.2, and you got a smaller one, 15.4. And that's from the dock itself. The property line kind of runs in the middle of this hatch here. So it's roughly about 3 feet past that. So it's about 39.1 feet from the dock. This is just a distance aerial here. This is the existing. So we've got 65-foot boats here. Up to, you know, as close as the structures are between are. The closest distance we got is 159 feet.
That's not a boat there.
That's the structure. Or that's from the edge of the boat, from the actual edge of the structure. It's 180.
Right. Minus whatever the 30-foot boat that might be the width.
Well, I'm just talking from the point of this dock here.
He means on the T head of
The dock is 36 feet, and then from the corner of that dock to
yeah, but that's
this dock.
to me, that's an unrealistic measurement because something's there.
Let's let the presentation.
Please, let
complete,
him
and then we'll
finish
ask
the
questions
presentation.
now.
Thank you, Andrew. Go ahead.
This is the proposed plan. The west side here went from 36 feet to 25 feet, and then the 15-foot dock went from 15 to 25. We're just evening out, you know, 3 docks, same thing, same size boats to slip. We've got 25-foot setbacks on either side. So if you look back the existing aerials, the property, I believe it's 319 on the left side, is both are right up along the property line. So essentially, we're just moving what's there and just kind of putting it right in the middle instead of all the way up. Now this is distance aerials with the proposed project. So you've got from the point of the dock, or from the structurals, we've got mooring piles out on the end here. Those are 54.5 feet from the property line. That distance to the BMR structures is 159.4 feet. So it's roughly the same. The docks are a bit farther, about 190 feet.
They can get in boats.
So this is just a table here showing the distances, the mooring piles from outside A1 through A7, 54.5 feet from the property line. And the mooring pile is just below that, 38.0 feet from the property line, and the docks are 28 feet from the property line. Extraordinary circumstances here, just due to the deterioration of the current structure. Just putting in, you know, newer structures there will improve the maneuverability and the safety of the area. It's the same footprint, except we're shifting it towards the middle and making all the docks the same size. It's all in the current existing land lease. There is 5,306 feet. The new one is 8,000 feet. So it's the same with waterward. The old one's actually 66 feet from the existing wet face. The new one is 65. It just extends a little bit farther east. Our existing waivers from the vicinity. Bunch of property is mostly from Idlewild Drive and then 4 through 5 Seabreeze Boulevard, big one over at Albany. And our letter of support got a renewal with Informa, boat show, Cap Lane with 3081 Harbor Drive. It's just down right there. Sorry, right there. Just across the street down south, and a couple other ones that are a little bit fun.
But well, we have some letters of support also.
Yes.
So you have I'm sorry to interrupt. So you have numerous letters of support that we're aware of. As far as I know, we have no objections, Andrew.
Yes,
We have 2.
There were 2 that were distributed today.
and I have a
That's
presentation.
correct. Okay. So go ahead.
I just want to touch on two main points just real quick before we go to questions. One, there is an existing Sovereign Commerce land lease on the property to the west.
that was previously approved, and that configuration, that width of that submerged land lease, we are not exceeding. Actually, we're going down a foot. It's just going wider, so we're not going out any farther into the water from what the vessels are there today. Just widening it out because, like I said, it's two condo buildings that we've now combined into one property, and therefore we have more room. However, we're increasing the setbacks on each side. So we currently, the vessels are right up to the western property riparian line. We will now have 25-foot setbacks on both sides of the property to meet that concurrence for DEP.
But one of our biggest concerns is there a hazard to navigation? As far as I know, there are no issues there. You demonstrated the width of the canal, so I think we're cool there. We did again receive 2 letters of objection, which we'll get to in a second. Are you done with your presentation? Excellent job, by you. So, Tyler, don't give up your day job. So, we do have 2 letters of objection, and I'm gonna speak to them first. Please come up and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Pat Rathburn. I am the attorney for Villa Madrid Apartments, Inc., which is direct. Can you bring up like the aerial? One of the, it doesn't really matter which one you do. Yes, Villa Madrid Apartments, Inc., 325 Harbor Drive. Villa Madrid is a 24-unit, 2-story cooperative directly to the west of this site. And the board met last night and voted to have me come and express their objections to the granting of the waivers. Just with one little small housekeeping to start, the application says it's for 3 finger piers and 14 mooring piles. Their table 1 shows 3 finger piers and 15 mooring piles. I think their map is off. Secondly, they talk consistently throughout the application about this being 1,000 square feet from wet face to wet face. It's not 1,000 square. It may be. The way I measured it, it's about 700, but that's not the actual distance that we're talking about in terms of navigable waterway, because you know that you have the Bahia Mar piers that go out a great deal into the waterway. So I was glad to see that they've sort of corrected that a little bit and got off 1,000 square feet, which they've used throughout their application. And because based on the distance in the application, it appears that it might be at maximum 118 square feet, 118 feet from the edge of the property line to the Bahia Mar. A significantly less navigable area than they proposed in their application. And in that that 118 feet, and I might be off better too. Did they ever bring? Nobody ever brought it
was
up.
180.
Okay.
What was that?
108.
180.
180.
Well, it's 180 minus the 54 feet of their pier. So.
That was with this mooring pile.
All right.
Or 160. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me get a clarification here, because I don't have the materials in front of me any longer. From the property line.
So from the farthest,
180 feet over to the Bahia Mar.
it's more than that from the property line, from the farthest mooring pile out, which is 54.5 feet.
I want to know what the measurement is from the property line.
No, I have that.
Oh, what I meant was mooring.
You should be able to figure it out.
Mooring pole, Bahia
I
Mar.
don't know where the mooring, the 36 foot figure up here, you would deduct it, but that's not where they're measured.
And I understand that the ordinance talks about the property line,
Right.
but I'm talking about the impact of this. And
I
the
understand.
impact is if you have the mooring poles out 54 feet and you have the Bahia Mar here on the other side, and my math could be wrong, but I had it as a maximum of 118 feet of navigable waterway between the mooring poles and Bahia Mar.
I understand the point that you're making, but from my perspective, I've got to be cautious to make sure that the waiver that they are seeking is not more than 30%. If it's real close, I'm going to take my magnifying glass out and start looking at it real carefully. But in this case, it did not exceed 30% in my opinion.
Well, you know, as I said,
Yours is a different approach. And
again,
Yeah.
I understand that it's the measurement, in the ordinance is from the property line to the property line. And that's why they talked about 1,000 square, keep it safe square feet. That's why they talked about 1,000 feet. It's really like 700, but I wasn't gonna argue that. That wasn't my big point. Want to go back up? Okay, so right here. we go here. Here's the buildings right here.
Guys, let's be respectful.
And so when you go from here to the pier, they have 155 feet.
That's the existing, what's currently there.
And so that doesn't go out as far. So again, the measurement is substantially less than 1,000 feet that they keep on talking about.
Is that red line go to the top side of the dock? That red line goes past that boat?
That's the 30% of the waterway. So that's from property line to 30% of the waterway.
Okay, so the red number is what in that picture?
255.
Okay, but in reality, it's more like in terms of actual amount of water that you have, it's way less than that.
Significant.
Yeah, so it's like a basin over there. So I'm going property line to property line all the way out.
Okay, but that's not
30%.
okay.
But if you're going from just the property line to where Bahia Mar dock starts,
Yeah.
then it's a little over like
And if there was a boat docked, even, like not even stern in, if they were moored up on their hip, then it would be way less than that, even on top of that, right?
It's 116 feet.
Okay.
Mr. Moore.
Chairman,
thank
you.
Just, there's a lot of debate about measurements here, so I'm on Google Earth right now, and it's a great tool. It takes all the subjectivity out of the conversation, which is a big thing. From the wet base to the Bahia Mar docks, Matt Chappelle's presentation on Google Earth. I can see him, we've got 220 feet here, 5 feet here, so, his measurements,
Again,
they check out on Google Earth.
So we could,
my presentation, my
data
argument.
is either data, so it's, then we measure property line to property line, black and white. at this point.
But the objection is not with respect to the measurement, but is left of the navigable waterway after they build these docks.
Let me try to give you a little bit of helping hand, although we get bogged down in where the 30% line is. Bob Franks, looking at New River, there are certain places where the request for the waiver may look acceptable, but it may end up being an impediment to navigation. I think that's where you're going.
Exactly. Thank you, Bob. In their summary description, they talk about 3 reasons why they feel that this waiver is justified. The first one is because of the extraordinary waterway, the extraordinary width of the waterway. And they go on and say that the extraordinary width of the waterway because it's 1,000 feet. Well, we just discussed whatever it is, whether it's 118 or it's 180, it's not 1,000. So they believe that they are entitled to this waiver because of the extraordinary width of the waterway there, and totally ignore the fact that this is really the width of the waterway. The second reason that they believe that they're entitled to a waiver is, and I quote this exactly from their app, that the structures are going to be perpendicular to the property. So what? I don't know why that would justify the granting of a waiver because you park the boat perpendicular instead of horizontal. So it doesn't seem to me make much of an argument that you should be entitled to a waiver because your boats are going to be parked back in and they're perpendicular. And their final justification for the granting of a waiver is that the prior property use had finger piers and submerged landings. Again, I quote exactly. Now, they also say the project now combines 2 parcels and, quote, is reconfiguring the existing finger piers to meet the proper setback requirements of the city. Well, if they were doing that, they wouldn't be here asking you for a waiver. What they aren't showing is they're showing this. They own this too. They're not showing what they're going to do with that and how that's going to meet the criteria. But if the reason for requesting a waiver is because they're reconfiguring, it doesn't make any sense because the existing piers are being removed. They're not being reconfigured. If they were being reconfigured to meet code, that would be a different thing, but they're not. They're being removed and new ones are being built. If they were reconfiguring them to meet the city code, again, we wouldn't be here. My clients object to the granting of the waivers, extending the piers and the mooring poles, because it will result in larger boats impacting navigation. That's where the fire boats come in, the jungle queen comes in and out, the water taxi comes in. It's a busy little area. And negatively impact the sites from their two-story cooperative apartments to the east. There's no hardship other than the developer wanting to provide more, bigger amenities to the owners and users of their proposed project. There's 6 letters. There may have been more added later, but there were 6 letters of support for them. And when I read it, it was sort of funny. It was like having my mother write a letter of support for my job application. I mean, we have people on Northwest 53rd Street, Northwest 25th Street. We have letters of, I would have been embarrassed, quite frankly, to put them in the packet. Because, you know, if you're going to write a letter of support for a project, live in the neighborhood, for goodness sakes. Don't send me a letter of support from somebody who lives in Miami who says this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Maybe it is, but it doesn't bother you. You don't live anywhere near. City already agreed to allow this project to double in height. By right, it's 120 feet. They came back in and they asked for 240, and they were granted it, and that's theirs. They were granted that. But at a certain point, you have to ask when is too much too much. And my clients feel that this is finally too much.
Thank you very much. So, let's just organize, Tyler, the applicant, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, just to recap on some of those points. First thing is the distance across. We understand that we're taking the measurement as we're supposed to meet the code requirements until we're 30%, how that's defined. So that's why we did it that way. The 180 feet, even if you added a boat here, call it a 30-foot, we have 150 feet. What I think we're missing is the fact that these docks here are 36. We're proposing new docks, so there is a reconfiguration. We're shifting these docks to the center of the property, and we're reducing 36 feet to 25 feet. So waiver request for the finger piers is 3 feet. The pilings are 14. There's 14 proposed in the application. There's 14 on our PowerPoint presentation. As far as navigation, we certainly understand the uses at the EMR, Jungle Queen, and Water Taxi, all of which are our clients, and we understand their needs. Given the fact that the boats that are here now are now going to be moved farther away from the objector, and the fact that the size of the boats are the same, and the lease area is being reduced in width, could certainly help that. And then anybody navigating through here along this waterway, if these boats were not here, I'm not sure what they're going to be running into as far as navigation. I think if anything, somebody drunk at nights, we're going to have our boats hit before they hit the docks at Bahia Cabana, which is what used to happen. As far as the access and the turning radius, as far as the EMR and the boat show, that was taken into account in their design. We met with them and they were perfectly fine with that, and they're supporting that. As far as the location, I think if you go to the next slide, it's easier to see what we're talking about. This is the proposed lease. Again, shifting it away from the objector's property on both sides, centering it in, and even then, we're also stacking the boats so that the outside slicks that are on the adjacent to the properties are the smaller vessels. So it's a stair effect where you have, 65s are going in the middle with 50s on the outside as far as, we don't take into account view corridors. They don't, from a parent standpoint, it doesn't matter. I understand the objection, but we are taking that into account as well. With this boat here, not only was there a 65 footer here, and now looking at 25 feet, and now it's only a 50.
Are you moving the pilings further out?
These pilings here are a couple feet more than what they are.
No big, no 3 feet, is that what I heard?
No, meters.
The dock is 3 feet.
But the pilings are getting moved a couple of feet out? Like 45 or. In other words, were this to go forward and we approve this, we won't see 120 footers.
You'll see
in the
90
same
foot.
spot.
You'll see 30 meter boats.
The width of the docks and the beam of 120 foot, you wouldn't be able to.
What is the width of the?
Maximum length of boat you're gonna put in there. Probably 55, right?
30 meter.
That's more.
The beam is 60. The total distance across is 39 and a half, 39 and a half.
Yeah.
Ted has the floor.
So thank you, sir. So I have a couple points. Obviously, we cannot approve or deny based on view. That's been our, that's clarified for cities. So the view issue is not on the table. Looking at this, just to clarify, you are moving everything in, taking that, which is now what, 10 feet, 25 feet inside. Basically, right up to the. Yeah, so it's actually improving the view. And the size of the boats are not gonna change, correct? So they're actually being reduced on the account. So you're stepping it. And in Forma, which is the boat show, they do build temporary docks in this area. They're okay with everything you said. It's not gonna impede on their thing. Stephanie, you mentioned that. Oh.
Here to speak.
Because I think that's a temporary change to condition that we have to think about here. And that's really one of my only concerns is that Informa can move freely and out of the area and a fireboat can move freely and out of the area.
I think it's a good, I would rather have Dean speak.
Yeah, Dean, are you?
Yeah, so the developer consulted with us and, we have no objections to the waiver. It doesn't provide any conflict with our operations moving forward.
From that, and again, sorry to keep going here. From that pier that we keep referencing here, how much do you build out from that, the boat show?
On the top, I'm not looking at a layout, so I'm not gonna sure off the top of my head.
I want to look, you bend more of the boats off of that T dock and they're sitting out 50 feet.
So you'll still have 100 plus moving then, still have 100 feet plus then still report the dimension.
Correct.
Okay, just so it's clear in my head. Thank you very much. I apologize for taking some
No,
time.
okay, so, as Ted was saying as well, view corridor is not our issue. The other thing is our sole focus is this property. And we also have nothing to do with the property height, so there's nothing that has to do with our consideration. Questions from the board, please. Are you finished? No, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Questions from the board?
Yeah,
Mr. Franks.
of course, yeah. Can you go back on the slide right now? You're showing that, yeah. Okay. Next question here. Basically on the boat show, you're gonna bring, the boats, the dock and the boats, how far this way?
I'm not looking at a layout, so I'm not
So
sure.
you don't know how far it's gonna come out.
Same as always last year.
Okay, well, last year, sorry, well, are you gonna move these boats during the boat show, or are they gonna be in the way? I mean, you guys,
It's the same length of boats.
yeah.
Something's not changing.
They're not changing anything.
Okay, well, then what's the actual waterway width right here during? That's my question. I've got to navigate boats in and out of here. I need enough room to get through here. So what's the distance? Yeah, I am, yeah. Yeah,
It's about 40 feet.
you're doing the boat, well, water taxi is gonna go on the outside.
We go on the
Oh,
outside.
40 feet. It's not a whole lot of room.
You what?
Existing gas and outside.
There-
Same size boat there, right? No, well, when you bring the foot. No, my point is the applicant's boats are cheaper. Yeah. So that's an existing condition, all right?
What is the people at the firehouse say? I'm sure you asked those guys, right? They got no problem with it?
Down here?
Yeah.
Yeah, fire?
Yeah, they got no problem.
There are charter boats on ADOT that go in and out.
It will make it work.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question that I'm hearing from some of the folks here, guys. Let's be touched here. So one of the questions I have is that, so under your existing condition, can you go out as far as you want with the boat?
Under our current existing condition, we do have a sovereign submerged land lease that's here. So we cannot exceed that.
Correct. So, and what is the maximum size boat that you have there?
65 feet.
So the question I'm hearing from folks is, how would you be with restriction on boat size there?
We are getting a new submerged land lease that will center, will be the same width, actually 1 foot less than the current.
Would you be willing to have a condition attached to that limiting the length of the boat to 55 feet?
65 to 85.
65 feet? Yeah.
I think 65, yes.
65, that's a submerged land lease, so sure, right? We can't exceed that lease because otherwise we'll have a compliance issue with the state.
We appreciate that, because the concern again is that, and with due respect to you, Stephanie, and the applicant, et cetera, the fact is that as we've heard, and you know, we could approve it tomorrow, 100 foot hypothetically. So, the question is, if you're comfortable with a restriction, we can, Bob Doble can craft a resolution that limits the boat size to 65 feet, if that's possible.
55 or 65?
65.
65.
What their land.
I could have sworn you said 55.
You did. Did you go pilings?
He's 75.
That's 65.
I think 65 is totally fine. Yes.
Good. So, it looks like what we have in front of us now is an amended application for 3013, 3019 Harbor Drive. And we can defer it to Mr. Dunkel to incorporate a resolution where we would restrict the vessel size to 65 feet. Based upon that, may I have a recommendation? Or first of all, is there anything else?
This is a question for new council. So you've done these restrictions previously on these waivers for boat length?
Very rarely.
Very rarely. Yeah. And you haven't gotten pushback or it has been.
Let me just say, it's my opinion that it's a legal condition that we can impose.
And code enforcement goes and enforces that as an issue, correct?
If brought to their attention.
So would the property.
Yep.
Length in the water or length of the boat?
The vessel.
The vessel, because it complies with the submerged standards. Anybody else? May I have a motion to, well, let's first of all, we are looking at an approval on a 3013, 3019 Harbor Drive, an amended approval or amended application, which will restrict the size of the boat to 65 feet, and we'll toss that to Mr. Duncan to incorporate when it goes to the city commission. May we have a resolution, anybody want to vote?
Ted Morley, motion to approve.
Ted Morley,
Sorry.
second. May we, please have a roll call.
We have discussion.
Discussion.
For the approval.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We motion, we second, we discuss.
Yes, we discuss. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
It's been a long
Uh,
time. Go ahead.
The goal of moving these pilings, putting all these pilings up and not allow a boat being much larger. Somebody can explain the value of that. You already have pilings there. They need to be changed for some reason.
It's falling apart. It's more.
They're falling apart. You replace.
Completely different.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Like, could there be anything placed in where the Hiamar and the boat show on the other side is also restricted from putting a boat over a certain size?
That's not in front of us.
That's not for us.
We deal with this parcel height, not on the right, not on the left, unless there are objectives. So we take that into consideration.
We say there has to be a certain amount of space in front of the space so that there's at least the third, we're only occupying 30% on either side. So there's 40% in the middle of the waterway.
That's the way the code is structured, the 30%. However, this board can still take into consideration to what degree would this lend itself to being an impediment to navigation.
And the special side to this is the land is 1,000 feet away. We really want the 30 feet from where the dock is.
Even though it's over 200. So if you're going out, if you have a structure 54.5 feet out, it's less than 25%. But
unless you mend more the boats, stern to the T-dock and stick the node pointing down.
Nobody's med mooring anything. This is wide open. Let's vote on
And
it.
they cannot go
You do it at the
past.
boat show.
The other thing is, that's the boat show. If they do that next year and they see that it doesn't work, you're gonna have to not do it.
I think it's, it's kind of
Talking about
close that out. I think it's important to know, these are, the boats that are there right now are this size.
same size. They can't go
There's
out any
nothing
further.
that's changing other than they're moving the docks.
No boats there right now.
Yeah, there are.
There are.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
So are we on the same page with this? I want to make sure we're talking about the waiver here. So we have a waiver, we know where it is, we know what the property is, we know what the issues are. It is basically, we have, I want to say, solid neighbor support. We do have some opposition that's been addressed as well. Again, our charge has nothing to do with anything other than this property. This particular property has nothing to do with property height or anything. We are looking at the waterfront at the specific waiver. So we do have a motion and we have a second. Any further questions?
Yeah, I have one clarification. What are our options here? Approve, disapprove, abstain?
You cannot abstain, where you all have to vote. Approve or disapprove.
What are the options?
So we
And how
have-
many votes does it take for it to pass?
it would be a majority. So on the table, a motion to approve or disapprove. We have a request to bring it to a vote. If everybody's okay, we'll do so. May we have a roll call vote? please?
Yes. Mr. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Bickoff,
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Mr. Colbert,
No.
Mr. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Frank,
No.
Mr. Lynch,
No.
Mr. Robotsky,
No.
Waddell,
Yes.
Swindell. Sorry, they have a typo here. You did say yes, correct? Mrs. Ware? Yes. Mr. Morley
Yes.
and Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay, we'll pass it.
Do I get the vote too?
You do Mr. Watch. Sorry, Mr. Ware.
Yes.
Wait, you're lying. Yes.
So what is the vote? please?
What is the vote?
So it's 10 in favor, 4 opposed.
Thank you all very much. First of all, I do want to thank the members, and I thank everybody for their thoughts, et cetera. My recommendation, just for what it's worth as we go forward, and I'm not saying anybody out, if you're not completely comfortable with a waiver that's been presented to you, ask questions. Make sure you see it. I go by everyone. I think many of you do. Physically touch it. Understand what we're dealing with, so we make sure we're on the same page, please. Okay, that will bring us to, yes, sir.
Board of Adjustment, we would go out and we would view the sites. Are we able to do that here?
Yes, sir. So we actually expect, now there are certain properties, again, due to the nature of, we have a number of waivers up on 20th Street. The houses are tight, can't get through them, et cetera. I've gone across the street, I've knocked on doors. We're gonna do whatever.
There's a way, a method of getting in there. You can talk to.
You got a hat now. Some people have a hat.
Yes.
The fact is, familiarize yourself, and if you have a question and this thing's coming around and we're not comfortable, let's make sure we are. And I mean that with great respect, everybody. So we all physically go, thank you for bringing it up. Touch the real estate, touch the dock, see what's going on, look at the neighbors. So enough said. Thank you very much. We now have in front of us a,
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
thank you, Steph. We now have in front of us a request for a waiver at 309 Sunset Drive. Who is presenting on this? Oh, hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. So this is Lisa McConnell who's presenting for the applicant. And Lisa, I'll give you the floor. You can have whatever you want.
So this will be great if I have a very brief presentation. Similar circumstances with existing dock conditions. It's a 5-unit condo building here on Sunset Lake, just on the south side of north side of Las Olas. And with that, I'm sorry, here we are, south of Las Olas. Sunset Lake, the Hogan Group has owned this property here for like 26 years, and their predecessor owners had these similar dock structures. They're dilapidated, they need to be repaired, they're going to be removed and replaced in the exact same footprint where they exist today. However, based upon the current code compliance requirements, we're here for the board and then subsequent city commission's approval for them to make the necessary repairs and rebuild these dock structures. So that's just relative location. Here they are, as you can see, the finger pier from the aerial. You can see the projection of the neighbor, this here angle, much farther exceeding, and the same is true for the length buildings, the vents and the yachts here that are closest to the overpass. This is the end. We don't really have a navigation issue whatsoever. I think another slide demonstrates a little bit better our projections in terms of relative to the darker hash property line. And then each of the mooring piles corresponds to the distance from the property line. And then the distance requiring the waiver, the greatest distance being 12 feet, for a total of 37 feet from the property line to be outside of the mooring piles in line with each pier as they currently exist.
What are the width of those docks?
These are 5 feet, I believe.
I'm sorry, the width of the slips, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, the width between the slips.
Yeah.
I believe it is, they're intended to be 14-foot wide slips. We only have
30 feet.
that's less than 60 feet in width. So we're talking about, it is a 5-unit condo building, but it's flanked by much larger properties with much larger vessels, and this is much more residential in nature than the commercial that they're surrounded by there on that 309 Sunset.
To the north of you, there's some sort of pilings being put in or dock maintenance going in. When I drove by it a couple days ago, there's a crane putting stuff in the water just to the north of you where those commercial docks are.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the construction of the neighbors' properties right now.
Adjacent to yours. So it's
Well, the Las Olas?
yes, just north of you.
I didn't see that. I was out there yesterday.
This was, I didn't take this picture.
Yeah. I didn't see
Friday,
any
I took this
construction
picture.
activity yesterday.
What they're putting in new pilots there or doing something there, or are they encroaching or anything?
That would be the responsibility of the building and zoning department to examine that.
So these are the pictures. Well, if you go back to the other picture, these pictures, I just took them yesterday to have some visuals here. Here, there's already existing floating docks that exceed this distance from an aerial view significantly, so that the projection of the adjacent parcels, waterway structures far exceeds the existing structures and what is to be rebuilt just to be in good repair for this particular property owner. So I didn't see new pilings or barge activity or anything. There are floating docks existing on the north.
So looking at this, if I may, Chair, you're requesting basically to replace exactly the same that you have right now.
Correct. Yeah, so I work in a permitting
Thank you,
agency
Pat.
for marine structures. We have a lot of other municipalities where you simply denote non-conforming existing structures, and it's not quite an elaborate process.
So we basically got filings of existence that have no waiver on file, Andrew, previously. So it's not conforming structure, or looking to bring it to
Like 40
compliance.
years.
Same. Okay, same. Okay, that was my only question.
But that's-
Regard to existing. Sure.
That's what's coming forward.
So, yes, it is.
The existing pilings, they're essentially replacing the pilings where they're at now.
They're replacing what's currently there.
Now, if they had a previous waiver, they would not have come to this board.
That's not correct.
It's not correct.
You put new ones in, even if it's the same location, you still gotta come back here for a waiver if it's more than 25%.
Okay. Thank you.
Lisa, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that kind of does sum it up. I think the last slide did have some existing extraordinary circumstances. which again is just to speak to the fact that, well, the last one is that we have to be here for Marine Advisory Board and City Commission approval as part of the code to be compliant. That is our responsibility. The owners want to be fully compliant with the process. We already have the other regulatory agency environmental approvals already obtained. We're looking to get the city approval and thus satisfy zoning and their duties to ensure that this process is hopefully approved with your.
Corporation is active now.
I'm sorry,
Corporation is active now.
the LLC?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yes, so, and, yeah, so again, there's no impeding of navigation, really. There's nobody going, there's no,
Can't go in.
the traffic is going the other direction.
You have more of an issue with cars there. So Andrew, letters of support, we have letters of support, like what?
I did not submit letters of support. I spoke with the property owners as a client of mine, and they've spoken to the neighbors. And again, the projections of all of the people surrounding them far exceed the projection of this particular request. And so I did not get written
No, that's
letters
fine.
in support of this particular.
And no letters of objection, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have, as far as we know, we have neighbor support. We essentially have the same footprint. We're essentially replacing what's there, Mr. Morris. Any further questions?
We can make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second,
John Lynch.
John Lynch.
John Lynch.
Any further discussion, any further questions? Further questions before we, and by the way, guys, you know, we've talked about this before, where we've talked about, you know, sometimes we approve or we turned out something quickly. This has been well vetted by everybody, and I appreciate everybody's effort. It's a complicated, but it's also an easy location to understand. Lisa, thank you for that presentation. If there's nothing further.
I appreciate it
For the
very
record,
much.
can you please just restate the motion?
Sure, this will be a motion. The request is a motion to approve the application for a dock waiver of distance limitations at 309 Sunset Drive. And we have a motion that was submitted by Mr. Swindell and seconded by Mr. No, I know your name, I didn't even know. Mr. Hang on. And if you be kind enough to bring it to a roll call vote.
Mr. Waddington,
Yes.
Mr. Bishop,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Holbrook, Dunbar, Flanagan,
Yes.
Mr. Franks,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Swindell,
Yes.
Mrs. Winter, Mr. Borley,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
and Mr. Whitten.
Yes. So, Lisa, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Thank you all. That was textbook case how to get through.
First time he came home, he woke my mom up,
Andrew,
threw all the dollar bills in the air. But I made it.
That brings us to, and I know we're late and et cetera, so it just happens to be the story.
Passed away now, but
Bob Frank, who we referred to as Cinderella. So Marco, where are you? So Marco Aguilera.
Oh,
Marco has a quick presentation. So Marco has been extremely busy. He's been Marco's been batting sea turtles, with malaria.
Batting, did you say?
No, I'm really quite serious. Nesting sea turtles he's also dealing with. We have an issue with the malaria, the high-speed ferry that runs to the Bahamas. But apparently it's more confusing than anything else. But so there's nesting the sea turtles out in front of the Port Everglades, and the accusation was the malaria is causing the problem. It's a much bigger problem. Brenda McDonald, who you guys may have met, who's one of the pilots, is involved, and I believe we put that to rest. The whole point of it is Marco's working on a million issues, so you got it, Marco.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm gonna keep it quick since I think kickoff already happened. But there is our second mangrove planting is gonna be taking place September 13th at Coontahatchee Park. Made possible by Coastal Conservation Association. So if anyone's available, feel free, come by, Coontahatchee at 8 AM, September 13th. We planted about 40, 50 mangroves in that area. I mentioned earlier the pump out boat, it's going on the agenda for October seventh. Granting the, giving the city manager authorization to execute the agreement, and we can get ourselves a vote. There is no head on board.
Like anyone. Small press commission.
We're also working on a, like a little welcome brochure for waterways. Obviously, our anchoring ordinance is gonna be keeping vessels kind of on the move. Which means we're gonna have a lot of new boaters coming into our area. And of course, voters that are already here could also always use a refresh on all of our information. So it's gonna be a little bit of a brochure that can be given out by Marine Patrol when they go out and make contact with a boat that shows up in one of the areas and anchors, and give them some important contact information like sea tow and towboat. Gives them, you know, instruction on Channel 9 for the bridges and 16 for everyone else, and you know, bridge closure time as far as not going up during rush hours, pump out locations, and then once we acquire the pump out boat, obviously the instructions for using that will be also on that brochure. And obviously our anchoring ordinance, also letting them know at that time that they have 29 days from that point to start, you know, they got to start making their plan to move on. So we're working on that, and I'll bring that at another meeting, see if there's any other information that you guys can think of that I can throw into that brochure. Waterway noise ordinance, Steve, did they get with you to make that video yet? I think they were.
So, Travis needs to shoot a video. We passed a noise ordinance. Travis is in the process of shooting that video, except the guy with the boat didn't show up yet. So I'm hoping to do that next week. And that will be shared, and that will be a public service announcement as well. So there is a noise ordinance, so we don't turn into all of the park here.
So that takes effect September 28th. So music cannot be heard plainly audible 25 feet away from the boat.
Boat or boat and structure? Yeah.
All right.
Boat or boat and structure? It's boat. Boat.
Boat.
What's the date that it takes?
September 28th.
The boat's the 27th.
I'm just. Don't ask.
Doesn't matter.
The way that ordinance is structured,
Sorry?
the way that ordinance is structured, there is no exception for special events. The boat parade is not being compliant.
So we weren't about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that noise ordinance was not brought to the Marine Advisory Board for any.
No. So go ahead.
Moving forward, like we mentioned, the anchoring ordinance went for first reading last night, passed unanimously, gone for second reading September 16th. In lieu of the recent jet ski accident and all of the boating accidents recently, Commissioner Thornton has assembled a small working group within the city, police chief, fire chief, myself, just city manager herself. And we're exploring different options on trying to make our waterways safer. So working with all external partners and exploring all of our options, one of those being when FWC came down the other day. So I'll have more on that as time comes. You see, we had a vessel traffic study done by the police department. I don't have the results of the latest one, but we'll share as that comes available. The one that got a lot of interest I saw was exploring the electric police boat. I spoke to the chief on that. We have to go through procurement, even if it's through for just a trial. So we're in the process of getting that worked through. I don't know that the trial is going to happen for the boat show. It could happen after. But most importantly is just trying to see if technology is where it's something that we can actually consider next time we do purchase a boat, or if this is something that we're not ready for, technology is not ready for yet. But again, not a trial to see if we buy it at the end. It's just to see if this is a technology that would work for us or would not work for us at this point.
You know how often are boats used?
The police boats?
Yeah. Like, are there times where they've done it to an 8-hour shift and then for some reason they have to go out again?
couple hours later where
It's,
VFO would be charging, not be able to be used.
it's so different. I mean, so the electric police boat just for everyone's example, I was on a call with them. They sold 2 to the US Navy. They have them on continuous operation 24 hours a day. The boats never charge overnight. They are only brought into the dock for shift change. So they're plugged into the supercharger for 30 minutes during shift change and they go back out for a whole nother 8 hours.
Solar panel.
Yeah, that's a phase 3 charge.
It is a high powered charger that does it.
30 minutes, boom, you're done.
Yeah, so there is options available. These are all things that we need to explore and work through to see if this is something we can actually do. But obviously for first, I would say that it'd probably be more of a supervisory boat. So it'd probably be for Travis, because he's not doing as much running around as his officers are. But again, we want to see if this technology is where it's at, where we can consider it as an option in the future or not yet. But the city does have a net zero plan, so they are trying to reduce emissions, and obviously they're working on that with cars and all the rest of our fleet. It was only a matter of time before it would make its way into our boats. So being proactive on it. The company is here in Fort Lauderdale, or actually at Pier 66. So I will keep you guys apprised of that. Also, yeah.
You mentioned the cost a little bit.
I think it was $450,000.
That's for the 26-footer.
Yep.
So
that is not
this is not an issue here. Price, no, price is not an issue because nobody buys these things. They all come via some type of grant, etc. So this is something that, and selfishly, the company wants us as a guinea pig because they're based in Fort Lauderdale. And the idea that the Fort Lauderdale Police Department or any other agency is not using their boats and is using something else irks them to no end. And as Marcus said, when you're on the phone talking to these guys, you'd be very impressed how advanced this technology is. But so he's for it.
Yeah, and
In the wrong business, I think. That's
Unbelievable.
50 business.
yeah, and the boat that they have is a 26-foot boat. They are in the process of making a 39-foot boat.
The problem is they're purpose built. That's the issue. You know, you're not, we talked, you can go and you can put a Cox diesel on a conventional gas boat, but you can't retrofit these boats. So it's purpose built. And the price will go down as they start selling.
Yes, sir.
Do you have to install the charging configuration for this?
So they have one that would plug in just regular shore power, but that is the slowest method of charging. But it would work if the vessel is going to be docked overnight. There would be no problem with just plugging it into regular shore power. So it wouldn't be necessary. There's 3 power charging options. Obviously the supercharger is the one that the US Navy is using, and 30 minutes, they're back out for 8 hours. The Canadian Coast Guard has purchased a couple of these. I think they have the second option, which is like 45 minutes to an hour to charge.
The ideally, what we'd like to see 180. You don't have, which most docks have, but if you don't, 50 and even 30, as Marco said. But a lot of these guys that use it, this is what they reported to us. They'll bring it in, you know, when you're coming in for coffee, whatever, and they'll just top it off. And they said pretty much they've never gone below 70, 80% in use. So we're going to investigate it. John's going to help on that as well. You're going to be very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of the trial, right? Is to answer all these questions. It's going to answer a lot of questions for them. It's going to answer a lot of questions for us. And obviously, if we can show that our police department is the first one to be trying it and working directly with the manufacturer, they can provide this feedback to the manufacturer and then help design the future of electric police boats if there is one. But you know, our police department should be involved if they're being made in our city.
Right.
So, lastly, I'm working with our environmental compliance team, trying to come up with a North Fork of the New River action plan. Trying to clean up that area. We've failed so many water quality tests in that area. There's a lot of contributing factors in that area. Majority of them are not in our city. So it's going to be an effort between myself and Broward County and Lauderhill. But we need to do what we can on our side. Part of that is I'm going to be going with the urban forester to go identify a lot of invasive species that are along the riverbanks and see if we can get those removed with the grant and replace them with native vegetation, mangroves, or whatever else. That'll be one of the steps. Obviously making sure that our aquatic control group is over there actively cleaning that area frequently. And then fencing a lot of lots that currently have, homeless encampments. So trying to move those people along, to get them away from the riverbank. But, right now, our biggest point source, more than likely, is the upstream commercial properties that are outside of our city. There's a lot of industrial areas outside of the city. And I reached out to Broward County about it today, and they're aware of most of them, and most of them are accruing fines, and there's nothing they can do. So I reached out to FDEP today to make them aware, to see if there's anything that they can do, and see what we can do, because we can't just continue to find them daily and not do anything. So that means having to go to City of Lauderhill or to Broward County and asking them to take action on these liens and try and foreclose on these properties, and then it is what it is. But we need to stop these point sources from contributing to the river. That's all I have, unless you guys have questions. Yes.
Marco, question on that issue. Do you have any monitoring up there?
We do at Sweeting Park.
Okay, that's the only location? Yeah. Okay. Do you see a surge in different contaminants based on tidal flow, or what are you seeing in there?
So the waterway testing that we have there tests for enterococci, which is the fecal bacteria indicator. We don't test for other things. Broward County does ambient waterway quality testing, but they only do it quarterly. And they don't test for, they test for more than we currently test for, but they don't test for like what different chemicals there is. But we do, as part of the new budget, we're going to be getting 5 additional testing locations, as well as microbial source tracking. So we'll be able to tell, enterococci is in the water. We know what levels they're at, but we don't know the source of it, whether it's human, canine, bird. If it ends up being a bird, there's not much we can do. They live in the trees. We can't shoot all the birds. But if it's human, then we know we need to start finding where the source is. It's coming in somewhere. So these are all things that are going to be happening. But all these waterway testing results are on our website. They're updated weekly. A test on Monday, and the results are posted Wednesday.
Any plans on chemical trace testing up there? Industrial sites to the west?
I have to ask our environmental compliance team and see if that's.
Then you'd have actionable data. You'd actually go back to the various industrial sources and say, hey, your chemicals, you're tying chemicals to specific addresses to them. And then you have a legal action.
Good idea. Great.
Mr. Chair.
So,
Mr. Chair, if I may please.
Yes, of course.
I've learned that in the early, I'm gonna say the late 80s, the early 90s, it was discovered that we had 5 foot of fecal matters in the bottom of that Norfolk River. It was supposed to have been dredged, and I was here to find out, has it been dredged and cleaned completely? You say that you're conducting water tests. I would like to see the results.
Yep, they're on the city's website. I can also email them to
results to me.
Yep. And then I did get a hold of a report from the early 2000s from Broward County when they tried to do some sort of action plan to clean up that section of the river, where it was noted in their report that I had no idea, but apparently the Swap Shop Circus had been dumping their animal feces in the river for many, many years. So that is one of the contributing factors.
From the Historical Society, I've learned that not only the swap shop, but the city of Fort Lauderdale and Lauderhill is dumping fecal matter, human fecal matter, into that river. I did quite a bit of research on the Norfolk River, and I can tell you that dating way back into the 1800s, the things that have happened with that river.
So,
Mr. Chairman.
So we've had Dr. Gaston here before, we can have her again. She works with Marco on vehicle count, et cetera. Let's follow up and get some additional data. So thank you, Marco. I will tell you again, this is a guy that, as when Aquatic Patrol was here before, Marco was in the water dragging a 100-foot dock in his suit with them And at the same time, he was at the city presentation last night and just killed it for us guys. So well done, John. Thank you.
Yeah, I did want to take this opportunity just to, thank you guys because again, I don't want you guys, I see a lot of advisory boards where things are brought, some of them struggle to make waves. This Marine Advisory Board makes a lot of waves, and obviously gets things passed.
We have a wait.
Yeah, you guys have a wait.
Thank you very much. So,
Got fined last time for dumping stuff. They told me the fine was rescinded. Is that?
As far as I know, they were never fined for dumping anything.
No, that they're dredging or something, they had. the
Oh,
village,
yeah, I
and
have
then they
no
said they
idea.
didn't have to pay it because it was inappropriate or something.
I have no idea.
so thank you guys. Let's, thank you, Brett. Thank you, Marco. This brings us to, Captain Cinderella. Bob Franks, where are you? So, Bob we asked Bob if he had an update on mapping. Safe to say over 2 months, he's been hard at work. So, I know we all want to get out of here and I'm sensitive to that, but let's give him a few minutes of time, please. Not gonna let you go through the entire thing.
First front to back, then back to front.
Read the last page.
Executive summary.
All right, Captain Cinderella.
All right, light a fire. Remember.
There you go. Okay, just a sort of overview and wrap up of where we are here. A couple things, Marine Advisory Board, these are the duties of the Marine Advisory Board, which includes regulation of boat docking of the New River and other public navigable waters. So these are this is what the Marine Advisory Board is supposed to be doing. Go ahead, next slide. Yeah. Okay, notable quotes here. Mayor Trantelis, I think this was about a year or two ago. He said, the boats and houses have gotten larger because they're the same size. We've got from Bill Purcell, Marine Industry Association. Marine Industry of Broward County employs over 144,000 people in the county. Millions in revenue annually, vital tax base, a full rail boat show, out earns 2 Super Bowls each year. That's the impact of the marine industry here. John Kelly, Bradford Marine. The New River is the artery that feeds the marine industry. That's how important this river is to Fort Lauderdale, the marine industry. Okay, next. Okay, a couple of facts here. The New River, marker 12 at Tarpon Bend, everything in and out from that is regulated by the city, the docks and board vessels. The ICW is a federal regulated body of water by the Coast Guard. The USCG can federalize the New River upon request. We've got all different types of vessels going up and down the river. Docks 200 feet long, maybe even longer, 250, but it's 200 feet long. There's barges 50 feet wide, 150 feet long, carrying equipment up to FP&L periodically, as well as construction for seawalls. We also have, as part of the ordinances here, docks can extend 25 feet from the property line without a waiver and must not exceed 30% of the river width with moored vessels. All right, next slide. We go. It's basically just these are some of the codes here that refer to the how far the dock can go with moored vessel here in the river. Go ahead. All right, now this is the section of river west of 7th Avenue. Some of y'all are going to recognize this. I think this is was it Bob Sobel? I think he lives over here somewhere. I think this is his house. Yeah. He's over here. We've got Cooley's Landing over here. We've got some boats in the river over here. We've talked about
dock waiver for this area. Now, one thing that happened is this graphic right here was done by the city of Fort Lauderdale. I'd like to thank Andrew and Lewis and the city for being able to come up with this type of graphic. And what they've done here is they mark here where the property lines are. The property lines are here in yellow. Okay, property lines are in yellow. Now, what we've got right here in the blue, this is the Corps of Engineers channel. This is actual, we had a bathymetric survey done. This is the channel edge right here, the toe of the channel. So that's the blue right there. Now the purple right here, the purple line here is 25 feet out, the measurement 25 feet out from the property line. So you want to say how far can the dock go out without a waiver? Okay, it's going to be the purple line here. All right, well, what's 30% of the waterway in this area? That's this red line right here. That's 30%. So with this, you get a better feel for, okay, what are we actually looking at here? How far are these boats going to be sticking out here? Is this an issue on this side? Well, this gives us some data to make a better evaluation of what we're actually looking at. I'm going to do a close up of this second. Go ahead, the next one here. All right, what we've got here is this is an ad here. Somebody's got a house here, 621 Southwest 5th Place. Okay, the castle they got, they're offering a dock space 25 feet wide, 70 feet long. All right, is that a problem? Next slide. All right, well, what we have right here is this is the property right here. You can see that this boat extends, and this is, this boat extends here past 30%. So this boat is in violation of code. And basically, I have another slide where I measured from here to here, and there's like 70 feet out. So we got, in this instance, two boats definitely out of code. And the problem or issue we've been looking at is, all right, we're getting squeezed here. Where are we getting squeezed? Well, this is pretty obvious right here. This is, Bob. How recent is that picture?
If it's from BCBA, it's probably a couple years old.
Yeah, it could be a couple of years old.
You
might want to take note of that. For code enforcement.
Get him, dude. That's all him.
Get him, Bob. Okay, well, so, and one other thing is property right here. Remember about a year ago, we had a lady, I think she was a doctor, we had a problem. Yes. This is her property right here. Her property lines are way back here. Oops. I don't want to touch the screen here, but the property line is like right here, and well, she can't build a dock without a waiver because it's more than 25 feet. So there's some issues or concerns about where is the actual property line. All right, next slide. We granted her a waiver to build. Okay.
Yeah, they're using it.
Okay, we got a little Florida over here, and
living seawall.
a couple of things again. If I look at this, this dark blue line here, this is the Corps of Engineers channel that goes right along here, around here. Again, the yellow line is the property line. And what's sort of interesting, a little Florida here, the property line here is way back from that point. So if you look at 25 feet from the property line here, and you're still on land. And actually 30% of the waterway based on the property line is actually right there at the seawall.
Thanks, ammunition. Thanks. So I have a question on that real quick for Mr. Duncan. Outside that yellow line, who owns that property? Is that city owned? South Florida Water Management District. South Florida Water Management District. Okay.
I've got another one that I'm working on right now where there's 967 square feet of triangular land that appears where on the face of the plat, it's canal.
Right.
And we haven't figured out exactly what we're gonna do with that. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the Wiggles here. And I know important you love this area right here. Well, this is the area right here where there again, you have a property here where the property lines are way back over here. And just it's a qualification. When the city made this up, they said, listen, we're doing artwork here. These are not necessarily exactly the legal definitions. If you want to look at the legal definition, you gotta go to property information. So this is a graphic representation. So, but in this case right here, this boat here is definitely more than 30% of the waterway.
Bob, help me figure out, how do you build a dock on a property that you don't own? If it's not outside your property line?
That's exactly what I'm struggling with right now.
Like,
That's the property, yeah.
Like, I'm not even talking about, I'm not talking about Little Florida, because that's a whole nother, I'm just talking about like, there's, in these documents, I mean, there's plenty of places that.
Okay.
that are-
My approach when it comes across my desk is I go back to the property line, then I go 45 feet. And in that case, they
Yeah,
would
but
need a waiver.
Who owns that property? Like, like just right here on New River, West and South Avenue, there's. So do you?
I would need to look at that property on a property by property basis.
But as an
The one
owner,
that I just
if
looked,
I don't own that 3 feet for the wall. Do I go to property management district and ask them to let me build a dock? Is that how it works?
you have to come to us. And I saw on this, I think it was 501 Solar Isle Drive, if I'm not mistaken, at 967 square feet. It's outside the boundaries of the property, but Broward County and the city of Fort Lauderdale allow them to build seawall.
So who owns that seawall?
I'm going, wait a minute, how are you guys doing that? They don't own this property.
And then who owns the seawall? I mean, who owns the dock after it's built? Who has to maintain it? Because wouldn't that be city property or the waterway owns it or whoever? Like, I don't.
It's under review by a number of the attorneys in our office because it's a challenge.
I mean, I know there was a guy that.
I don't have.
I know there was a
the
guy
answer
that
to your
was
question.
buying these little properties like this. He went over to
You're right.
Hillsborough Isle and he bought everybody's little sliver of property that was their dock, and then he told him, you gotta get your boat off my dock.
Who do you buy them?
I don't know, but he bought them, and then he.
And then the other question is, was it by quit claim or warranty deed?
I don't know.
And then you go back and you examine the chain of title.
Yeah.
And you find out, well, wait a minute, this guy didn't have title to that, so how do you claim title?
Right. Insurance.
You gotta
title
go
insurance. gonna pay.
property by property and evaluate it. There's no general fast rule.
Well, you're raising a lot of questions there, Captain Frakes. Please go ahead.
When you think smart, we got a better basis for making some intelligent recommendations, so we're moving ahead. The next slide, okay. We got the famous tunnel right over here, beside the hotel. And this is really squirrely here, because the girls' school over here. Now, it's actually a wine year, and it actually looks right here. If you come here during Christmas and New Year, you're gonna have all these different yachts all along here. You get a real squeeze here. When you're coming up the river this way, and the Jungle Queen's coming this way, where do you go? Plus, add the issue where you have pretty strong water currents in here. So, and half the people here are not on Channel 9, they get security calls. So this can be a really squirrely area here because of being narrow, windy, because of there's traffic congestion. So this is another area, if we're gonna have a consideration of a special navigation area, this would be one of those key places to have it. There again, we're looking at that. And the question I've got is, okay, how much width do you need for the river for certain vessel sizes in straightaways, curves, and extreme curves? That's something we need to determine. All right, next slide. All right, so basically looking back at where this whole issue here is 2023, probably before that, there was concerns, discussions about the moratorium. What are we doing on the river? We need time to really look at to make some recommendations. So around 2023 or so, we're looking at 2024, the commission basically did not approve it, but since then there's been no request for waivers on the river. So this is still de facto process of what we do. In 2024, bathymetric survey was requested. Patients did a good job on that, along with Jonathan and the city. I think it was about $7,000-8,000 for a bathymetric survey. So that bathymetric survey, when you look at this other charts I had up here, that blue line came from that survey. So there is a bathymetric survey. We've got 2024. There were some folks who brought in videos of yachts going up and down the river, how narrow it is. In 2025 here,
the Coast Guard then reconfirmed that the river is not federally regulated from Tarpon Bend upriver. March of 2025, city attorney clarifies the code's based on property lines. Everything is based on property lines. Here in April 2025, we got a gist map of the channel lines created. Again, I want to thank Andrew and the city just for you. And this is where you can find all the data from the ICW all the way up to Bradford to Reed. So if you want a copy of that, here's where you can find it. Also, July 2025, I pull up to stop number 1 there at the Stranahan House, and there's the Marine Advisory Board from the city, and you guys have done your big tour with the yellow sunglasses. So,
free Bill Walker sunglasses.
well, Steve's done a real good job in getting the city people involved, and the people that this is what the river is. Courtney is you're on board, I believe. And hey, here's a tight spot. Here's what it looks like from the boat perspective. And there again, if you're on this narrow place, the Jungle Queen is coming toward you. You get a little nervous. All right, next slide. So that was the history. A couple of points. Points considered. Mooring permits are based on reported property lines, not always the state law. There's a 25 max docks extension without a waiver, and 30% channel width max with vessel mooring side. The new river is not Coast Guard regulated, but it can be if city issues persist. If we can't resolve this, the Coast Guard is going to get pulled in here, or we may not like what they want to do.
They're still responsible for safe navigation.
Safe navigation, 100%. Large vessel traffic, barge traffic, navigation challenges are increasing. We need to define a safe navigation channel width by vessel type, river section. And we still have unresolved congestion safety issues that this federalization and loss of local control. So this is what we're going against if we can't offer some solutions. All right, next slide. All right, this is the last slide here. We need to focus on data-driven problem solving. We need to gather data, identify key questions, collect all stakeholder concerns, develop and recommend clear actionable options to the city commission, and prioritize balance of navigation, safety, commerce, residents, and industry needs. So, yeah.
Phenomenal. Going forward, do you think that you'll be able to generate something that would isolate the choke points that we should be concerned with when we're looking at waiver of limitations? To the end, we might be able to adopt a resolution identifying all of those as opposed to taking them up one by one so that people would know in advance, hey, you probably don't get your waiver.
Right. Well,
it's in zoning.
Yeah, right. What I think needs to be done is have some sort of study done by a consulting company. They can get information from the Corps of Engineers. I mean, if you go to the Corps of Engineers, they actually have recommended channel widths for vessels of certain sizes, the straightaways, I mean, there's formulas for that, so they can see how you can apply that to the river. The only thing is there are going to be parts of the river that are so windy and narrow, those parameters are not going to fit. So what we have to do is.
Are you suggesting there are some portions where 25 foot would be too much?
No,
okay.
Yeah,
that's what I thought you were
yes,
saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and so that's where it goes to, let's say, all right, hey, we can't deal with this Coast Guard, can you come here? They're gonna go by Corps of Engineers, and say, hey, you have to remove half the docks in the river. That's why we need to solve it ourselves. So we need to find out where the choke point are, come up with what do we need as a minimum channel width for certain size vessels, and how do we massage that and apply to certain areas? You can say, all right, well, we're going to have the 150 foot long barge with a tug on the front, tug on the back, 50 feet wide goes up the river. All right, we may have to have a local notice to mariners notice and have it timed a certain time to go up the river, so people know that's going to be going. I mean, there's some certain ways to mediate it, but we have to come up with some sort of study. Some sort of study that validates anything that we may come up. We'll talk more. Absolutely.
Is there a current rule as far as when you need to have a towboat or two towboats to help you get up and down the river? Is there?
Courtney, will you answer that? Courtney reminded us last month that when the boat goes up without tugs, and they suck up a plastic bag, they're gonna want a tow next time. Am I correct?
Insurance boat.
Yeah.
And is there anything based on the size and power of the tug that you need to have based? Because if you're asking the dynamics of turning boats and how with things can be, that changes if you have to now have ancillary power sources, both fore and aft. So you'd have to take that into consideration.
Sure.
And I guess that's more your wheelhouse. As far as,
I don't understand what you're asking.
if you're pulling a 150-foot boat that's 6 levels high.
Sure.
Versus a 120-foot boat that's 2 levels high.
Right.
You got more windage, so you need more horsepower and a bigger tug, let's say, on both ends. Is that something you have to give consideration to? Or normally you don't?
Not really.
Your boats are powerful enough. for the
That's
most part.
more, you know, it only takes so big a boat up. Convenient Canal, that's something that we have an issue with. Boats are much larger that go up tractors.
There's also a power line that goes across. That's not part of it, right?
Yeah,
The Lincoln Canal. Okay. Only the big sailboats.
Okay.
Bob, you also,
Yeah, just basically just think about all this. Let's come back to the next meeting and begin the discussion.
good work, Bob. So, tremendous work. The fact is that you've given us the ammunition, tremendous ammunition. So guys, before we leave, and thanks again, Bob, we're gonna share all this, and this ultimately will make its way to the city commission when we make recommendations. Bob just mentioned Courtney Day standing over there. I'm not sure if everybody knows Courtney. Courtney Day is APN Towing. He owns the tugs. The mayor is recommending Courtney to join the board hopefully next month. So they met, and hopefully we're bringing out a guy that actually knows what it is to drag boats on the water. So even though he's ignoring me right now, thank you for joining us, Courtney.
Courtney, shout out.
You have to thank now.
And patience as well. Thank you for joining us.
Then.
Next month, we'll hopefully have boat show guys giving us an update on what's coming, and hopefully, I think FWC may join us in a couple of ways. With that, Mr. Moore.
One quick question for Bob Franks. Do we know when the Coast Guard federalized the Miami River? I don't have that date.
It was several years ago, and there was several years ago, and there was a couple stipulations that the channel be a minimum of 65 feet wide until you get the upper part, which is 45 feet wide. The other stipulation in that was that if any vessels got in the way or reduced safe navigation, they could be removed. My question to Coast Guard was, okay, who determines that and who enforces it? I haven't gotten a response back yet from them, but I want to see what criteria they applied for that to see how it's applied to this river.
We'll get to be the next one.
Yeah, I think it's important that we think about that a little bit because obviously the concern about federalization of the new river is real to us. My river, example, it's been done. So we got to get our house in order, or somebody else is going to for it.
100%.
And realtors and boat brokers are not going to like it. And the program says pulling those docks off.
Yeah. So
it's relevant waterfront homes.
So we may get an update from the Coast Guard next month. That might be helpful. Before we leave, Mr. Washington asked us to make sure we don't forget 9/11. So thank you for that. And thank you for all those who served. And guys, this great meeting. Enjoy the game tonight. Oh, wait a minute. I'm supposed to ask.
Motion to close. Good, second.
Yes.
First and second motion?